Awake in darkness, the soul finds itself staring into a dragon's deep blue eyes.
A magnificent blue dragon rests upon the grass, its single eye watching a glowing light.
Recalling their sudden death, the confused spirit questions if the dragon before them is real. The soul's final memory is unexpectedly tied to a single slice of spicy pineapple pizza. A hand holds up a glistening slice of pizza topped with chunks of pineapple.
He enjoys the meal so much, he jokes about not noticing someone dying mid-bite.
Panic sets in as he suddenly begins to choke on the very pizza he loved. With a final gasp, he realizes that flavorful slice has become his last earthly memory. His body falls limp on the floor, leaving behind only a discarded piece of pineapple pizza. Frustrated by the absurdity of his demise, the spirit rants against his half-hearted fate.
In the void, he wonders what he did wrong to deserve such a pathetic death.
Surrounding light sparks a new question. Has he finally arrived in the afterlife? Lacking a physical form, the spirit feels his consciousness begin to drift and fade away.
The blue dragon lies still amidst dandelions as a celestial light glows from its back.
Awakened by a command to pull herself together, a blonde-haired girl gasps in shock. She stares at her own hand, stunned to find herself back in a physical body. Watching a floating feather, she realizes with awe that she has truly come back to life. Sitting in the grass, she is bewildered to discover large white wings attached to her back. Panic takes over as the blonde-haired girl wonders why she suddenly possesses angel-like wings. The towering blue dragon looms over her, requesting a favor from the newly resurrected girl. She freezes in place, recognizing the majestic and powerful voice of the ancient creature. A massive blue claw reaches out, touching the girl's chest as a brilliant light erupts. The dragon entrusts her with the title of Last Guardian, pleading for her to restore fallen ideals. Its duty finished, the exhausted dragon speaks its final words before fading into the scenery. Reborn as a small winged child with a crown, the blonde-haired girl cries out in disbelief. Gusts of wind buffet her as she desperately asks the disappearing dragon for more explanation. The dragon's voice echoes one last time, confirming her new role as the world's final guardian. Left alone and confused, the blonde-haired girl reaches out as the dragon vanishes completely. A glowing blue butterfly manifests above a hand, signaling the start of a new journey. Lying on the ground, the girl sighs at the sheer nonsense of her current situation. A blue system window appears, announcing that a fairy guide will now accompany her path. Harshly handled, the girl is chained up as captors demand she stop her useless struggling.
A guard watches the cage, coldly ordering the girl to remain quiet this time.
Shackled by the neck and limbs, the blonde-haired girl sits defeated in her dark cell. Glaring through her bars, she curses her horrible luck at being captured so soon. Greedy men peer into the cage, mocking the girl they see only as a precious angel. She looks down at her bound hands, frustrated by a body too small to fight back. A small fairy mocks her predicament, prompting the girl to snap back at her useless companion. The fairy quickly changes its tune, trembling with fear while the girl remains visibly annoyed. A heavy, ornate carriage travels through a sun-drenched forest, carrying its captive cargo. Determined to fulfill the dragon's request, the blonde-haired girl plots a desperate escape. She peeks through the narrow bars of the moving carriage, assessing her grim surroundings. Terrifying monsters pull the transport as the girl realizes many other slaves are imprisoned nearby. Touching the cold metal collar around her neck, she prepares herself for the journey ahead.
In the shadows, the fairy complains about lack of candy while insulting the girl's intelligence.
The blonde-haired girl stares blankly at the floating guide, unimpressed by its casual insults. Her pale blue eyes narrow, reflecting both exhaustion and a quiet spark of defiance. She mutters the name of the strange new world, Sulliplihen, under her breath. The fairy reveals they are in Navy, one of 7 continents within the world of Sulliplihen. Seeking an advantage, she asks the fairy if it knows anything useful about their location.
The round blue-winged spirit beams, boasting about its absolute knowledge and eagerness to assist.
A winged blonde girl named Xianju looks down skeptically at the tiny spirit in her hand. Narrative text describes being reincarnated into a strange world as a unique bird-like creature. Kneeling on a white surface, Senju reveals her massive feathered wings spread wide behind her. Senju bluntly calls the spirit a useless fairy, catching the little creature completely off guard. Wearing a heavy metal collar and chains, Xianju questions if she possesses any special abilities. Xianju imagines a muscular version of herself shooting eye lasers at a terrified green figure. The spirit dismisses her bizarre imaginings with an annoyed, deadpan expression on its face. The captive girl looks confused when the spirit suggests checking her status through an interface. A massive pow sounds as a complex blue digital interface suddenly manifests around the girl. Sunju stares in awe at the glowing screens, confirming this is the mentioned digital interface. A system window reveals the stats for Gim Sunju, showing her at level 1.
Sunju points at the data, realizing her strength and health stats are incredibly low.
Reviewing her physical data, the girl notes she has shrunk significantly in height overnight. Sunju continues scanning the interface, searching for any other abnormal or unexpected status effects. A digital panel displays her gender as none, leaving the girl completely speechless with shock. Pale with horror, Seonju realizes she has lost her gender entirely in this new form. The round spirit tries to comfort the distraught Sanju, but she remains deeply shaken. A muffled "oomph" sounds as Sanju angrily smashes the talkative spirit's face with her hand. Still shackled, Seonju grumbles about her discarded gender while the dazed spirit floats nearby. The blonde girl notices something new on the interface and gasps in sudden surprise. A blue window appears, identifying various innate skills like aesthetic eye and unfurl wings. Sunju is frustrated by the vague descriptions and lack of detail for her new skills. A notification rings as Sunju complains about the cryptic nature of being loved by heavens. Sunju frantically taps the digital screens, demanding clearer explanations of what her skills actually do. The spirit asks Sanju's opinion on her skills, mentioning they could be useful for a party. Looking at her shackled wrists, Seonju doubts her wings and skills will help her escape captivity. Sunju continues scrolling through the menu, her expression filled with focused determination and frustration. She discovers standard healer skills like Healing Touch, but deems them entirely useless for her situation. A sudden realization strikes Sunju, her eyes glowing blue as power surges around her collar. A glowing book titled Ronin's Third Scripture appears, emanating a powerful and divine white light. Sunju clutches her head as the scripture's ancient knowledge flows directly into her consciousness. A vision shows a massive white dragon looming over Seonju, asking for a final favor. Faces and voices fill the air, discussing Sunju's immense monetary value as a rare captive. Narrative text explains the Navir language and how summoners can naturally communicate with others. The little spirit looks exhausted and dizzy, its eyes swirled from the recent chaotic events. Sunju grabs the spirit, demanding to know what it means by the term summoners. A loud wah echoes as a man's heavy boot slams down onto a wooden surface. Senju is roughly grabbed by her arms as a man boasts about quitting his job. Two rough-looking men laugh together, anticipating the massive fortune they will gain from Sunju. Panicking, Sunju begs the useless fairy to finally provide some real assistance during the crisis. The spirit proudly explains that the local currency is the dollar, much to Sunju's annoyance. A heavy sigh escapes the blonde girl as she rests against a wooden wall in despair. A man's voice asks the chained girl how much she thinks she is worth. A bearded man in a brown hood leans over Seonju, clutching her bound wrists tightly. The hooded man laughs mockingly at the girl's helpless state and her current captive situation. A sharp rip sounds as the man's hand reaches for Seonju's white shirt to check her. Looking down with a sinister grin, the man tells Sanju she doesn't understand her situation. A close-up reveals a detailed lion tattoo on the man's arm, identifying him as a hunter. A flashback shows other captives huddling in fear, highlighting the grim fate awaiting the girl. A gloved hand reaches out into the darkness as a sudden shout rings out. The bald captive stops his companion from touching Jaiki, calling her a valuable asset. Still bound in heavy chains, the blonde girl gasps in relief that she wasn't struck. Muttering in annoyance, the hooded guard retreats while the bald man remains to watch her. Adjusting his monocle, the bald man inspects his captive with a cold, calculating gaze. A heavy thud sounds as the captor approaches Jaiki, finding her presence truly strange. He roughly tilts Jake's chin upward, lamenting the fate of such a beautiful slave. The captor promises to show respect by selling her for the highest possible price. Jaiki glares defiantly at the man, rejecting his empty words while he merely chuckles. Shaking with frustration, the blonde girl clenches her shackled hands tightly against her lap. Jaiki desperately begs her fairy guide for a plan before their situation gets any worse. The fairy senses someone approaching the carriage as a sharp blade glints in the sunlight. A massive boom echoes through the forest, startling Jaiki just as she wonders who arrived. Both Jaiki and her fairy companion freeze in stunned confusion at the sudden, violent disruption. Kaboom! An explosive force tears through the carriage, throwing the captors and Jaiki across the floor. Shielding her face from the debris, the blonde girl tries to understand the chaos unfolding. Her eyes widen in shock as she witnesses the sheer scale of the outside attack. Dust and smoke cleared to reveal a gaping hole leading out into the sunlit forest. Coughing through the haze, the bald man shouts in a panic, demanding to know what happened. He looks out through the shattered wall, frantically searching for his missing security guards. Outside, a red-haired woman orders her companions to hold their ground and stop the fleeing slaves. Seeing her chance, Jaiki realizes she must use this chaos to make a desperate escape. Blood splatters against the air as a pained groan signals the violent end of a guard. Standing over a fallen body, the red-haired woman, Ruji, mocks the guard's lack of fear. Ruji warns that those who mess with her group will face dire and bloody consequences. With a chilling smile and glowing red eyes, she dares the remaining guards to challenge them. Swish! Ruji swings her sword with lethal precision, cutting down anyone standing in her way. Jaiki slumps to the ground, paralyzed by the brutal violence she is forced to witness. Amidst the raging flames, Jaiki watches in horror as people are casually torn apart. A system notification chimes, announcing that the Divine Dragon's power has been successfully activated.
Ruji walks away from the carnage, her strength leaving Jaiki in complete awe and terror. As the system blesses her, the red-haired woman pauses to look back at the captive girl.
Ruji calls Jaiki over, but the terrified girl can only manage a small, frightened squeak.
A brown-haired knight kneels beside a guard, retrieving a set of keys for the deal.
Ruji argues that Jaiki is far more valuable than the legendary staff they originally sought. Jaiki stares blankly at them, offended by the way they discuss her like a mere item.
The knight sighs and pushes past Ruji, clearly impatient to conclude their business and move on.
Glaring with annoyance, the brown-haired knight mutters about the entire mission being a waste of time. He stops in his tracks as Ruji's words finally sink in while he stares at Jaiki. Ruji approaches the pair, asking what they are doing as she observes the stunned knight. A purple-haired man named Kropis arrives, asking what amazing treasure they have managed to find. Kropis' green eyes widen with intense interest as he gets a clear view of the girl. He is instantly captivated, wondering if the winged girl before him is actually a real angel. Clasping Jaiki's hands, Kropis offers a dramatic apology for his late arrival to rescue her. The system warns Jaiki of his overwhelming affection while she wonders what's wrong with this man. Ruji laughs and calls for an end to the nonsense while holding up the cage keys. Finally free of her heavy iron shackles, Jaiki sighs in relief at her newfound comfort. The brown-haired knight drapes a cloak over Jaiki, curious if her magnificent white wings are real. Jaiki realizes she can fold her wings, realizing they are a novelty in this strange world. As the group watches in amazement, Jaiki makes her wings vanish, feeling much better without them. The armored captain asks the blonde girl if she understands her current appearance. Confused, she is offered a mirror to see her own face for the first time. Looking at her reflection, the blonde girl is horrified by her new, strange features. While she weeps, the armored man asks if she is a summoned person. Still processing her situation, the blonde girl is baffled by the term summoned. Seeing her confusion, the man asks if she possesses a system interface. Ping! Multiple blue system windows instantly materialize around her, confirming her status. The man is stunned, noting he has never seen a winged race summoned before. He mentions that some summoned ones lose their memories while she drinks from a mud. She realizes she is not the only person in this world with a system. Ancient lore reveals that many lives are summoned to this world by the Divine Dragon. Regardless of their origins, all summoned people share the common trait of a system. The red-haired woman, Ruji, assumes the girl must be level 1 due to her ignorance. The captain asks for her age, noting her face makes it difficult to tell. Seeing alone on a rock, the small blonde girl feels distant from the group. She smiles brightly, happily concluding that she looks much younger than she actually is. When asked how long she has been in Celaplion, she guesses she arrived today. Checking her skills, the blonde girl mentions one specifically involving the Divine Dragon. A glowing system window confirms the skill, the Divine Dragon shall be with you. Both the captain and Ruji are shocked by the mention of the Divine Dragon. Panicked by their intense reaction, the blonde girl desperately tries to claim she misread it. She pivots to a lie about having healing abilities, causing an even greater shock. Doubting such a rare power, the blonde girl is asked to prove her healing attribute. She reluctantly takes the hand of a wounded man, hoping the skill actually works. Concentrating intensely, she wonders if simply repeating the skill in her mind is enough. With the injured man's hand in hers, she prepares to attempt the impossible. Brilliant blue energy swirls around her as she focuses on activating her divine power. A soft light glows as the deep wound on the man's hand miraculously vanishes. The group watches in stunned silence while she realizes healing is easier than expected. They wonder if she is truly the very first healer to appear in Celaplion. Shocked, the blonde girl asks if there truly are no other healers in this world. The captain explains that curing others is considered a legendary and impossible divine ability. She awkwardly scratches her head as her fairy companion watches with a smug expression. The phrase divine power echoes in her mind, emphasizing the weight of her gift. The small fairy boasts that their captain is far more special than any typical summoned. Given her unique status, the captain suggests it would be wise for her to join them. Ruji enthusiastically suggests joining the Summoners Guild, but the captain quickly rebukes the idea. Ruji teases the captain for his transparent lies while he tries to maintain his composure.
She continues to pitch the guild as a large and beneficial opportunity for the girl.
Ruji notes that a healer would be an invaluable asset during dangerous demon raids. Confused by the escalating talk, the blonde girl wonders what exactly these demons are. The captain silences Ruji, insisting they should not force a path upon the girl. Realizing they haven't been formal, the armored captain finally asks the girl for her name. Looking up with clear eyes, the blonde girl introduces herself as Gum Sunju. The captain smiles warmly, officially welcoming Sunju into their group circle. Clump, the captain gives the order for everyone to prepare for an immediate departure. He adjusts his gear, readying himself for the challenges that lie on the road. With a stern profile, the captain focuses on the mission ahead of them. Fire glows in the distance as the group begins their tactical retreat from the area. Sunju stands determined amidst falling leaves, ready to face her destiny in this world. Senju considers the Summoners Guild as the carriage rolls onward through the day. The rhythmic movement of the wheels marks their steady progress toward the unknown. As they approach a grand city, the captain discusses the dangerous intelligence of demons. Leaning against her hand, Sanju ponders her unique status while Jakey rests nearby. Ruji explains the role of guilds, comparing their diverse missions to detectives back home. The captain confirms that many summoned beings originally hail from the world of Earth. Feeling ill-equipped for the future, Sanju worries about surviving her meeting with the dragon. Sensing her distress, the red-haired woman offers a gentle, reassuring touch to the girl. Senju gazes out the window, trying to calm her racing heart as Ruji offers comfort. Ruji details the various guilds, mentioning those that specialize in gathering and selling information. With a confident smile, Ruji promises that Sanju will eventually find her place here. She surprises Sanju by revealing she was also summoned to this world years ago. The captain outlines the plan to get Sanju an official ID at the Union. Sunju listens intently, realizing her life in this new world is truly beginning now. A sudden, loud growl from her stomach echoes through the carriage, causing a deep blush. Ruji bursts into laughter, promising to make finding a good meal their first priority. They finally arrive at the city of Shuros, where armored guards stand watch over gates. The streets are filled with peaceful life as children play and townspeople go about chores. Having finished their meal, Ruji leads a satisfied Seonju through the bustling city marketplace. Sunju reminisces about Korean soup while Ruji looks on, completely baffled by the terms. Their walk is interrupted by a child's excited cry calling out for a pretty Nuna. A group of kids wave frantically, asking for help with their game in the street. Angered by being called a girl, Sunju kicks the ball away with a fierce shout. Ruji continues to tease her companion about her undeniably pretty and youthful appearance. Walking away, Sunju grumbles about her childish body while accepting she must endure it. She wonders if there is a deeper, hidden purpose behind her physical transformation here. Approaching a massive structure, Seonju questions the divine dragon's ultimate plan for her life. Hand in hand, the two companions move toward the next step of their urgent mission. Senju asks about their destination just before she accidentally walks into a wall of muscle. A stoic security guard blocks their path, sternly demanding if they have a scheduled appointment. Ruji ignores the guard's protest with a cheerful laugh, much to Sunju's shock and alarm. She demands entry to see the old man, leaving the frantic guard powerless to stop her. Senju can only stare in disbelief at Ruji's reckless and bold method of entering. They burst into an office where a bearded man named Rinko sits amidst many books. Rinko looks up in surprise, immediately recognizing the red-haired woman who just barged in. Ruji jokingly insults the man's weight while he sighs at her characteristic lack of restraint. Rinko expresses his frustration over the current expedition and the summoned one's obsession with raids. He eventually concedes to Ruji's point about the undeniable thrill of gaining new strength. Ruji presents Senju, correcting Rinko's assumption by revealing the girl is actually a young man. Rinko is frozen in shock after learning Seonju is the only legendary healer in existence. Smirking with pride, Ruji celebrates the success of her shocking and highly valuable revelation. Excited by the news, Rinko decides to introduce Sanju to a very special person immediately. He leads the group down a grand, opulent hallway toward a set of massive doors. A quick knock sounds as Rinko announces their arrival to the mysterious person waiting inside. Inside the lavish room, a man in a suit named Planko sits calmly on a sofa. Rinko addresses the man as Chili, signaling their long-standing relationship and mutual respect. Looking up from his papers, Chili asks for the reason behind their sudden, unannounced visit. Ruji introduces Sanju as an intriguing asset that she knows will catch the man's interest. Sanju feels a shiver of unease as the man's sharp gaze lands directly on her. Adjusting his glasses, Chili evaluates Sanju's true importance while a dark purple energy swirls. Sunju looks apprehensive as narration notes Chili's notorious pickiness regarding rookie-summoned beings. Rinko smiles warmly while Planko glowers, creating a tense atmosphere for the seated group. While Rinko attempts to explain Sunju's worth, Chili skeptically dismisses the importance of looks. Seonju listens in disbelief as Rinko reveals her true age to the dismissive Chili. Ruji leans in to whisper a reassuring word to a visibly nervous Sunju. Ruji introduces Planko, explaining his role as a colleague who keeps Chili in check. Chili pushes up his glasses, sharply noting that he can hear every word they say. Rinko highlights Chili's vast connections, promising Senju a life free from hunger under management. Sunju deadpans that starving might be preferable to dealing with these eccentric old men. Turning to Ruji, Sunju questions if Keely is truly someone who can help her. A tall, dark figure looms behind Seonju as she expresses curiosity about Chili's appearance. A sinister smirk spreads across the face of the mysterious man standing behind her. Sunju jumps in fright as the messy-haired man asks if she was looking for him. Chili casually greets everyone while Ruji warmly welcomes the old man back to the room. Looming over her, Chili observes Seonju closely, intrigued by her unique and unfamiliar presence. A steady clomp sounds from Chili's striped slippers as he lazily walks across the carpet. Sliding onto a sofa, the disheveled Chili yawns while Planko chides him for sleeping. A dramatic burst of focus emphasizes the shocking realization of Chili's true, eccentric nature. A soft glow emanates from Chili's wrist as Seonju's healing power mends a fresh cut. Chili stares at his hand in awe, stunned by the miraculous disappearance of his wound. Ruji celebrates the confirmed healing skill while Sunju maintains a stoic and unimpressed expression. Chili brandishes a small life with a crazed grin, wondering if she can reattach limbs. Rinko and Ruji frantically demand Chili put the cutter down and check the system interface. Chili laughs off his terrifying joke, leaving Sunju and Ruji horrified by his lunatic behavior. Planko confiscates the knife as Chili suggests Seonju should stay hidden from public view. Chili envisions a chaotic future where guilds and admirers aggressively swarm the unique blonde healer. While writing, Chili warns Sunju to keep her powers secret from the watchful management. Looking up with confused blue eyes, Sunju asks for the reason behind his stern wording. Chili leans forward with a sly grin, preparing to explain the catch to her situation. With a charming wink, Chili boldly claims Senju as his own for the coming year. Waving goodbye, Chili leaves with a final warning for Seonju to avoid the church's notice. Ruji assures a traumatized Sunju that Chili is reliable when it truly matters for them. Educational diagrams explain the process of slaying monsters, gaining experience points, and leveling up. Senju critiques Ruji's subpar drawing skills while they discuss the mechanics of gaining power. Ruji tosses her notebook aside, advising Seonju to target special monsters for better growth. The concept of management is explained as a system of distributing lucrative contracts and wealth. Chili demonstrates his exceptional talent by mediating a handshake between a nobleman and a knight. Rinko notes Chili's particular fondness for Seonju as the girl enjoys some cookies and tea. Jakey cheers while Seonju admits her current low level limits her divine healing capabilities. Rinko reassures Sanju that Chili will become a vital asset once she begins taking contracts. Sunju imagines a life of royal wealth but remains grounded by her immediate lack of food. Rinko laughs heartily, seeing through Sunju's transparent hunger and the worries written on her face. Sunju looks up in surprise as an unexpected offer or guest catches her attention. A maid informs a bewildered Sunju that her luggage has been arranged in her quarters. Sunju gazes at her opulent new room, overwhelmed by the generosity and beauty surrounding her. Standing alone in the lavish chamber, Sanju wonders if she has found a true home. A rhythmic clomp follows Sanju as she walks across the carpeted floor toward the balcony. Leaning against the stone railing, Seonju marvels at the breathtaking beauty of the night sky. Glowing constellations stretch across the heavens, resembling jewels embroidered by angels in the deep night. Sunju unfurls her majestic white wings under the stars, finding peace in this new, strange world. Sunju examines a tattered guidebook specifically written for traveling beings summoned from other worlds. After a refreshing bath, Sunju studies the book and ponders if levels truly dictate strength. Resting by the balcony, Sunju learns that even mundane tasks like cooking can count as quests. Jiki nibbles on cookies as the text explains how enlightenment grants explosive power beyond one's level. Under the starlit sky, Seonju wonders if her rare healing magic qualifies as a powerful hidden skill. A sudden tap sounds as she realizes the book's author, Jung Han-soo, was also Korean. Senju considers the vastness of a world where beings from countless dimensions all gather together. The system interface's similarity to Earth's RPG games makes Sanju suspicious of the Divine Dragon's true nature. She imagines the ancient dragon as a disheveled gamer hiding away in a dark, messy room. Jakey continues snacking while Senju doubts the creator would ever answer her many lingering questions. Deciding that sleep is her best option for now, Senju settles into her comfortable new bed. The deep purple of the night sky slowly fades as a new morning finally dawns. Sunlight bathes the city of Shiros as Senju's blue eyes snap open to the new day. Senju wakes up with messy hair, surprised to see Jakey still sound asleep beside her. A sudden movement catches her eye as a large white bird appears outside the balcony window. Seonju stares in confusion at the massive bird calmly watching her from behind the glass. A loud, echoing squawk sounds as the bird frantically demands entry by slamming against the window. Startled by the bird's persistence, Senju hesitantly prepares to open the door to the balcony. With a wet thud, the bird spits a soggy folded letter directly onto Senju's shocked face. The letter drops to the floor while Seonju reels from the bird's incredibly gross delivery method. Wiping away bird spit, Senju reads a mission to exterminate rats and grumbles about outdated communication. Recalling her job hunt, Senju mentions her past restaurant experience to the skeptical guild clerk. The bearded man ponders her background, trying to find a suitable mission for the small girl. He notes a dangerous request for transporting hostages, leaving Seonju completely baffled by the extreme jump. Senju demands a normal delivery job, but the clerk insists a summoned being should aim higher. He finally assigns her a rat extermination quest, showing a photo of a terrifying monster rat. Seonju stares at the monstrous red-eyed creature in the photo, questioning if it can even be called a rat. Despite her apprehension, Senju decides to accept the hunt as the fastest way to gain experience. A sudden rustle awakens Jakey, who looks around the lavish bedroom with a drowsy expression. Getting ready for her first mission, Seonju pulls on her pants while Jakey notes her early start. Senju ties her blonde hair back, determined to handle her business and grow stronger quickly. A quick zip sounds as Senju finishes dressing in her practical gray and black hooded sweatshirt. She sets her sights on a local bakery, intent on purging it of its monster rat infestation. Looking like a modern adventurer, Seonju heads out into the city, flanked by floating images of pastries. A close-up of the monster rat reveals its jagged teeth and menacing, glowing red eyes. A dark void emphasizes Senju's internal hope that a rat is just a rat in the end. At the bakery, the mustachioed chef reviews the guild request while Senju waits for his instructions. The baker questions her age, but Seonju firmly asserts she is an adult despite her youthful looks. Seeing her beauty, the chef suggests she skip the dangerous hunting and work in the shop instead. He imagines Senju as a charming poster girl, certain her appearance would make his sales skyrocket. Senju flatly rejects the offer, much to the dramatic and comical disappointment of the pleading baker. Giving up on his recruitment, the chef sighs and points her toward the urgent rat problem. He directs her to a basement door radiating a dark, ominous aura of purple monster energy. Senju prepares herself for the task, even as she wonders what she has gotten herself into. Standing tall in her hoodie and sweatpants, Senju waits as the baker searches for a weapon. The baker ducks inside the shop, promising to bring out something truly useful for the hunt. With a rhythmic thud, Senju descends the stone stairs into the dark basement, armed only with a mop. The oppressive darkness of the cellar makes Seonju question if she is even heading the right way. Jakey suddenly chirps, urgently suggesting that Senju try using her Blessing of Light skill. Senju skeptically questions the point of a minor strength buff as Jakey insists on following its instincts. Jakey aggressively pushes Senju, urging her to finally test out her magical capabilities. In a flashback, Senju realizes her stat increases were more significant than she initially thought. Standing in the dark cellar, Seonju prepares to cast a skill despite having no target. Senju's eyes glow with intensity as she begins to chant the Blessing of Light. A massive, blinding flare of pink and white light erupts, completely illuminating the dark cellar. A piercing kya echoes through the room as the magical light reaches its peak intensity. Seonju stares at her glowing hand, shocked by the sudden boost to her strength and agility. Jakey explains the skill's intensity, while Seonju recalls her previous, much weaker attempt at casting. A blue system window suddenly materializes before Senju's startled face as a sharp ping sounds. The interface announces that Senju has acquired Reshade, a passive skill for seeing through shadows. Her attention is taken by a sudden, quick tick as her vision magically adjusts to darkness. Senju marvels at the green-tinted clarity of her new night vision, which activates without any effort. A sudden swish startles Senju as she wonders why her skills are activating so easily. A red-tinted blur signifies an incoming attack as Senju gasps in surprise at the sudden movement. A monstrous rat lunges from the dark, but Seonju blocks its jagged teeth with her mop. The red-eyed beast gnaws fiercely at the wooden handle, its terrifying size overwhelming the small girl. With a swift slide, Sanju shifts her weight, preparing a desperate counterattack against the monster. A heavy thump sounds as Seonju kicks the massive rat, sending it tumbling across the floor. A loud crash echoes as the rat hits barrels, while the system grants Seonju battle sense. Seonju collapses to the ground, panting heavily as she realizes how close she came to death.
Looking over her shoulder, Seonju observes the motionless white rat lying defeated in the purple-lit cellar.
Sweating and exhausted, Senju desperately hopes the monster stays down, fearing she cannot fight any longer. Jakey floats by and praises her strength, but Sanju remains focused on her broken mop handle. Sunju grabs and squeezes the squishy Jakey, demanding the spirit creature help instead of just watching. A haunting creak sounds as 3 pairs of glowing red eyes appear in the ceiling vent. Multiple dark shapes lunge from above with a sudden whoosh, sending Seonju into a panicked retreat. The system warns that her buff has ended just as a massive rat lunges at her. Surrounded by monsters and losing her strength, Seonju grits her teeth in a moment of pure desperation. Seonju desperately attempts to recast her light blessing as a giant shadow looms over her. Up in the bakery, a blood-curdling screech echoes from the basement, terrifying the chef and customer. The baker nervously lies to his customer, claiming the terrifying noises are just someone cleaning. A sudden bang echoes through the floorboards, making the baker sweat while the customer looks suspicious. Below, Seonju is completely spent, leaning heavily on her mop as she gasps for air. A heavy thud sounds as Sanju stands victoriously atop a pile of defeated, unconscious monster rats. Sanju realizes the monsters were afraid of light, making her difficult struggle feel entirely unnecessary. Jakey cheerfully points out that it suggested the blessing of light from the very beginning. A murderous, red-tinted aura surrounds a seething Senju as she glares at the unhelpful spirit creature. Jakey offers a weak excuse while Sunju remains silent, her anger radiating through the dark cellar. A soft beep draws Sanju's attention back to the floating blue system window beside her.
The display confirms Sanju has reached level 2, granting her 1 precious new stat point.
Sanju is outraged, finding a single stat point to be a stingy reward for her life-threatening battle. Jakey tries to stay positive, reminding her that every small boost helps the continent's only healer. Jakey urges her to invest in divine power, what Seonju's finger hovers over a different option. Jakey makes a horrified face as a loud ding confirms Sunju put her point into strength. Jakey panics, questioning the logic of a healer who chooses physical power over their divine magic. With a series of confident taps, Sunju prepares to explain her unconventional view on her role. Sunju spins her mop with a sharp whoosh, demonstrating her newfound physical agility and combat intent. Senju declares that the greatest healer is the one who destroys threats before they can attack. A heavy clack sounds as Sunju strikes a pose, her face fixed in a terrifyingly determined grin. A nervous gulp escapes Jakey as it realizes Sunju is taking a very violent path. Seonju leans on her mop with a satisfied smile, victorious after her first hunt. Sunju looks at the floating spirit, realizing the little creature doesn't have a name. The spirit enthusiastically asks for a wonderful name while Sunju contemplates its new title. Inspired by a bag of cocoa mix, Seonju suggests the name Hot Choco. Sunju explains the sweet meaning behind the name while the spirit looks on curiously. A simple sketch of a mug confirms the source of Senju's beverage-themed inspiration. The spirit imagines itself as a dashing, rose-shrouded fairy, delighted by its sweet name. At the Summoners Union, adventurers whisper about the blonde girl looking like a lost child. Sunju turns around, her long blonde hair catching the light in the busy guild hall. A red-haired adventurer named Ruji runs toward Sanju with a joyous shout of greeting. Sunju's blue eyes widen in shock as the sudden, loud shout startles her. Ruji scoops Sunju into a bone-crushing hug, expressing how much she missed her. Sunju warns Ruji about hugging strangers while Ruji notes her lack of discomfort. Ruji excitedly asks Sanju about her current progress and her current level. Still trapped in the embrace, Seonju casually reveals she has already reached level 5. Ruji scolds Sanju for revealing her level so easily, leaving the girl feeling indifferent. Sanju carries a red-eyed rabbit doll, a meager reward for her recent grueling work. In a dark cellar, Seonju spent long nights sewing eyes onto piles of cursed dolls. Frantic sewing sounds fill the air as Sunju moved on to back-breaking porter duties. Sunju struggled through deserts and worked in mines, enduring menial labor just to survive.
Narrative boxes explain that as a low-level summoner, she had to perform difficult tasks.
Seonju sighs over the difficulty of living, while Ruji warns her against strange requests. Ruji announces a temporary departure, asking Senju about her plans for the next mission. Ruji describes a massive raid to defeat a devil featuring a flying red demon. Ruji explains the raid is limited to elite hunters including diamond rank warriors and archmages. Ruji excitedly mentions famous adventurers joining, while Sanju remains completely bored and unimpressed. Ruji points toward Lukpin Plains as a mysterious man approaches them from behind. The newcomer's gaze narrows as he recognizes Ruji standing across the guild room. A tattooed man named Collection, the Devil Hunter, smirks as he makes his entrance. Collection places a hand on Ruji's shoulder, commenting on her appearance with a sly grin. With a sharp talk sounding, Ruji aggressively brushes off Collection's hand and demands he leave. Collection ignores the rejection, but Ruji firmly states she has no interest in being friends. Collection mocks Ruji's low level, questioning her ability to join such a grand expedition. Collection's attention shifts to Sanju, questioning the identity of the young lady nearby. He leans in with a creepy grin, wondering if Seonju is the rumored beauty. Collection asks for Seonju's name, noting her stunning beauty just as the rumors claimed. He offers to help Sanju out, underestimating the girl and ignoring her growing annoyance. Ruji warns Sanju to ignore the crazy guy as Collection boasts about his status. Collection freezes as Sanju's expression turns terrifyingly cold, her aura shifting the entire mood. Sanju stares him down, bluntly asking if he actually thinks he is someone important. The man is stunned by her bold question, while Sanju claims total ignorance of him. A confused, "Huh?" escapes him as he reels from being completely unknown to the girl. Narration reveals Collection is a bully who exploits personal connections to maintain his status. A flashback shows Collection cowering before a giant man demanding answers about his brother. In the present, Sanju dismissively waves the man away as Ruji watches the interaction. Surrounded by flowers, Sanju's beauty makes Collection wonder if she is actually a noble. Sanju glares down at the now cowering man, who frantically begins to offer an apology. Internal dialogue continues to question the girl's origins and who might be backing her. Sanju threatens to arrange a meeting with Mr. Korpin, sending Collection into a panic. Collection grovels on the floor, begging for leniency before the guild's onlookers and Ruji. Ruji looks worried as she asks the blonde-haired Sanju if the punishment is enough. Sanju dismissively tells the groveling man to get up from the floor. Sanju threatens Collection with further violence if they cross paths again before dismissing him. Stylized depictions of Ruji and Collection appear terrified by Sanju's intense temper. Collection flees in a panic as Sanju and Ruji watch him disappear into the distance. Ruji wonders if Sanju comes from a powerful family, but the girl bluntly denies it. Sanju remains indifferent, explaining that the man simply got scared after being scolded. Ruji pulls Sanju into a warm embrace while the blonde girl clutches her rabbit gaw. A large grandfather clock strikes 1 o'clock, prompting Ruji to prepare for her meeting. Ruji waves a cheerful goodbye as she runs toward her departure point. Sanju sighs in relief when she is alone while Hot Choco appears beside her. The spirit creature wonders if Sanju is still upset about the earlier confrontation. Sanju shoots an annoyed glare, making it clear the previous fight is not her concern. Sanju feels unfairly weak after hearing about the immense power of legendary devils. A determined narrative reveals Sanju's new goal to hunt devils instead of performing odd jobs. A woman in a long green dress approaches Sanju to confirm her identity. The woman presents a written request to handle troublesome rhino carp at Trencha Lake. Sanju and Hot Choco examine the paper, unimpressed by another mundane task. Sanju's eyes turn into dollar signs as she hears the high reward per fish caught. Sanju stares with terrifying intensity at a price tag, her blue eyes glowing with resolve. A shopkeeper in a cap watches Sanju grumble about the high price of fishing glops. The scene shifts to the clear waters of Trenchia Lake, emphasizing the importance of gear. The shopkeeper explains that modern fishing requires expensive, sturdy equipment for such large prey. Sanju looks incredibly stressed while holding a rod, agonizing over the cost. Chibi Sanju stubbornly decides to stick with the cheapest equipment available to save money. The shopkeeper hands Sanju a small, silver, pearl-like object to use for her fishing line. The shopkeeper warns Sanju to cast her rod carefully to avoid a head injury. Sanju points at an old straw hat, but the shopkeeper says it is not for sale. The shopkeeper tells her to dust off the tattered hat before thinking it. The shopkeeper waves goodbye as Sanju departs for her fishing mission with her new gear. Sanju prepares to set off under the bright sun, adjusting her worn-out straw hat. Wearing her tattered hat and carrying her gear, Sanju looks ready for the lake. Sanju sits in a rowboat on Trenchia Lake, amazed by the water's vast scale. Hot Choco explains the history of the lake, which once resembled a vast sea. Narration describes the ancient war led by Lukpin that permanently altered the surrounding terrain. Historical illustrations depict the brutal war against a devil that left behind many casualties. Hot Choco notes that the records of the ancient battle have mostly been forgotten. A cloaked rower guides the small boat across the sparkling blue surface of the lake. Sanju reflects on the terrifying nature of devils as the boat glides forward. Hot Choco explains that a devil's power relies on worship, which has long since vanished. The spirit creature suggests that Sanju could gain power by being worshipped as an angel. Sunju looks surprised, questioning if simply being admired is the key to her strength. Hachako imagines Seonju receiving offerings of food, but she calls the idea absolute nonsense. The cloaked rower announces they are almost at their destination and tells Sunju to disembark. A wide view shows the boat approaching a peaceful gazebo on the green shoreline. The boat nears the shore as the clear water reflects the bright blue sky above. Two elderly scholars sit in the gazebo, enjoying a quiet game in the sunlight. Sunju looks around the lake, skeptical that this massive body of water is considered small. The rowing man warns that the rhino carp will cause a dangerous commotion at sunset. Sunju peers into the deep blue water, finding nothing but silence for now. The small boat hits the wooden dock with a soft creak as it arrives. A foot in a black sandal steps firmly onto the weathered wooden planks. Sunju arrives at the lakeshore, drawing startled looks from a nearby man and woman. Local hunters whisper in surprise as they watch the young blonde girl approach the water. Sunju ignores the chatter, finding it too annoying to interact with every curious stranger. A purple-haired woman approaches Seonju, asking if the girl is there to fish. Looking up from beneath her straw hat, Seonju offers a blunt and unimpressed response. The woman wonders if Sunju is a summoner specifically hunting for the dangerous rhino carps. Noting her small stature, the woman suggests that it would be safer for Sunju to leave. Hardened hunters, including a man in a red bandana, loom nearby, emphasizing the mission's difficulty. A fisherman laments the strength of the carps as he shows off his meager catch. Seonju gazes toward the green trees, quietly observing the departure of the discouraged hunters. The woman mocks Seonju's cheap rod, while a system window confirms its rock-bottom durability. The purple-haired woman waves a cheerful goodbye, leaving Sunju to her own devices. Hot Choco hovers near Seonju's face, asking the girl what she plans to do next. Sunju remains silent and contemplative, staring out at the peaceful but challenging lake. As night falls, they decide to wait until the evening when the rhino carps appear. Hot Choco frantically screams for Sunju to wake up as the time for action arrives. Sunju wakes up abruptly, looking dazed as the blue spirit hovers directly in front of her. A sudden, sharp thump sounds as Sunju reacts to the spirit's close proximity. Sunju shouts at Hot Choco to stop sticking to her face while she regains her bearings. Hot Choco reports that all the other hunters have already departed into the night. Under a bright full moon, Seonju realizes the hunters have headed for the lake's center. Sunju panics slightly, realizing she doesn't have a boat to reach the distant center. Hot Choco suggests a ridiculous plan involving Sunju flying with wings while casting her line. The spirit explains that spreading her wings will lighten her body enough to walk on water. Sunju looks skeptical, but prepares to attempt the impossible feat to reach the fishing spot. Her black sandals sit abandoned on the grass as she prepares for the watery track. Large, majestic white wings sprout from Senju's back, scattering glowing feathers into the night air. With a look of disbelief, Senju tentatively steps onto the water surface without sinking. Hot Choco reminds her that she is an angel as she glides effortlessly across the lake. Senju beams with pure joy, amazed by her ability to walk where others must row. Hot Choco spots the struggling hunters in the distance while Senju approaches the deeper water. A loud splash sounds as a hunter in a bandana fails to catch a powerful fish. A bespectacled hunter notes that the carp's magic resistance makes their spells completely useless. A boat capsizes with a splash, but Sunju watches the chaos with total indifference. Hot Choco warns Senju that a large rhino carp is lurking directly beneath her feet. A blue fish with a steel-hard horn glares upward, described as a ferocious predator. The rhino carp lunges upward, nearly striking Sunju as she recoils in sudden shock. A massive splash erupts as the beast misses its mark, sending a hunter into a panic. Hot Choco warns that the fishing rod won't reach as the giant carp snaps its jaws. Sunju rages at the spirit, furious that her leg was almost bitten off during the attempt. A swarm of dark shadows appears beneath the surface as more carps gather for an attack. Hot Choco looks on with concern as Sunju stands silently amidst the growing swarm. Sunju suddenly declares her surrender, deciding the task is far too much trouble to continue. The blonde girl insists she is going back for a drink, much to the spirit's annoyance. Floating upside down, Seonju chooses to return to her boring doll sewing job over this danger. Hunters in a nearby boat scream in terror as a rhino carp heads straight for them. Hot Choco mocks the amateur hunters while Sunju prepares to fly away from the lake. The man in the red bandana is paralyzed by fear as the nightly fishing turns deadly. Hot Choco worries about an accident while Senju remains casual about the potential risks. Sunju dismisses the danger, assuming the hunters can simply rely on their healing potions. A sudden, sharp shout sounds as the rhino carps launch a violent, leaping attack. Panic sweeps the boat as a hunter falls overboard, desperately crying out for help. The scene turns dire as a boat capsizes, sending hunters into the turbulent water. The man in the red bandana urgently rallies everyone to rescue their drowning comrade. Spreading her white wings, Sanju realizes the carp attack is becoming far more dangerous. Beneath the surface, the aggressive fish gather once more for another coordinated, deadly assault. Chaos erupts across the lake as multiple hunters are thrown from their small boats. Hot Choco begs Seonju to help as the carp swarm the defenseless, drowning hunters. Senju grips a stone with fierce intensity, her blue eyes glowing with newfound resolve. A brilliant beam of light streaks across the sky as Senju launches herself forward. A massive explosion of water follows her attack, shocking the hunters in the boats. Staring into the sky, the hunters react with total disbelief at the sudden divine intervention. Sunju looks dazed and surprised, as if her own power was beyond her control. Pain suddenly flares through Seonju's body, causing her to cry out in sudden agony.
Dead fish float on the surface while hunters wonder what fell from the sky.
Sunju heals her hands with a globe, grumbling about her heels, grumbling about her protective angelic instincts. The boats regroup on the water while Senju reflects on her unexpected heroic action. Hot Choco asks if her current mood feels as sticky and dirty as before. A massive, dark presence stirs in the deep as something similar begins to emerge. A thick red appendage rises from the lake, prompting questions about the strange feeling. Hot Choco reacts with wide-eyed shock as a truly massive creature reveals itself. A huge splash sounds as the hunters row frantically to escape the rising threat. Seonju notices a swirling vortex on the surface, wondering what is happening to them. A massive geyser of water shoots upward while terrified screams echo across the lake. Sunju and Hot Choco look up in horror as a monstrous entity finally appears. A giant red devil with massive horns towers over the water, finally waking up. Realizing the magnitude of the threat, Senju identifies the creature as a great devil. She questions why such a powerful and ancient being would emerge in this place. The red devil smiles with refreshment, clearly relishing his return to the surface world. A system window appears, identifying the mysterious being as an unknown great devil. The horned giant peers down at the winged Senju, who looks tiny beside him. The devil thanks Senju, calling her brother and claiming she awakened him from sleep. A beam of divine power is shown striking the devil's bed in a flashback. The red devil laughs at the accidental awakening while Sunju reacts with visible frustration. Hot Choco suggests fleeing, but the devil is too busy admiring the fine weather. Seonju whispers to the spirit while the great devil looms behind with a grin. The red devil leans in, recognizing Sunju as an angel and greeting her warmly. Senju nervously fears an attack, but the devil insists they have much to discuss. The giant devil laughs joyfully, though Sunju bluntly asks him to just let them go. The devil explains he was looking for a friend before falling asleep for ages. Senju is confused when the devil calls the lake by its ancient name, Seijinian. Hot Choco explains that Seijinian is Trencha Lake's name from 5,000 years ago. Seonju is completely stunned to learn the devil has been asleep for 5 millennia. The devil asks for her name, wishing to remember the benefactor who woke him. Sunju introduces herself as Gum Sunju with a bored and completely unimpressed expression. The devil critiques her name as shabby and old-fashioned compared to her angelic beauty. The giant notes that Seonju's face reminds him of someone from his distant past. Laughing softly, the red devil admits he is thinking of a woman he misses dearly. Seonju bluntly clarifies her gender as male, much to the great devil's surprise. Senju sits calmly upon the water as the red giant offers a sheepish apology. The horned devil smiles broadly while introducing himself with an absurdly long, ancient name. Sunju and Hot Choco are immediately baffled, doubting the devil's status after hearing such nonsense. The devil remains oblivious to the fleeing hunters, wondering why his long slumber wasn't hibernation. Sunju suggests his friend is likely dead, but the devil insists their kind doesn't vanish. Walking across the waves, Sunju dismissively tells the persistent giant to look for them alone. Struck by an idea, the red devil asks Sunju to help locate his famous friend. When the devil mentions the name Shikrush, Sanju freezes in shock as a realization dawns. A heavy silence falls between them under the moonlight, punctuated only by drifting white feathers. Observing the devil's massive, powerful frame, Sanju begins to question the true extent of his strength. The red devil offers a wicked, knowing grin, his red eyes gleaming with hidden intent. The scene shifts to a flashback as a hand grips a bow with desperate intensity. A red-haired woman named Ruji draws her arrow, claiming she possesses superior strength. A large expedition gathers in a sunlit plaza, preparing for a high-stakes hunting mission. Standing among the crowd, Ruji learns their target is the subjugation of the being Shakrush. Blue-haired Cropus listens as reports suggest they are only facing a weak, lesser devil. A smug veteran dismisses the danger, confident that their team can handle any mid-level threat. A lone sword marks the start of a memory where expectations were shattered by reality. Their plan was simple: strike fast and finish the job before the beast could react. A colossal flaming skeleton emerges, dwarfing the hunters and turning the battlefield into an inferno. Terror grips Ruji as she gazes up at the skeletal titan, realizing their fatal mistake. Surrounded by fire, the hunters realize they are facing a being far beyond a lesser devil. The great devil's skeletal face glows with malice, its fiery eyes fixed on the hunters. Overwhelming dread fills the air as the expedition realizes they have walked into a disaster. Chaos erupts across the canyon as hunters scream for a retreat to save their lives. A scarred warrior urges Ruji to flee immediately, abandoning the dead to save themselves. Ruji protests the cold decision, unable to leave the injured behind in the hellish heat. A sudden, firm grip catches Ruji's arm, pulling her away from the approaching wall of fire. Dragged toward safety, Ruji looks back in despair as her comrades are left to the flames. A hooded man admonishes Ruji, insisting she doesn't understand the lethality of the situation. Ruji insists her veteran experience is enough, but her confidence is visibly crumbling. Showing his horrific burns, the man explains that surviving a high-level devil is a miracle. He commands Ruji to discard her useless pity and focus solely on escaping the nightmare. A massive boom echoes through the canyon, drawing their terrified eyes back to the explosion. Cropus is thrown through the air as the earth shatters beneath the devil's immense power. A piercing scream escapes Ruji as she witnesses the absolute devastation of her team. Ruji cries out for Cropus, seeing him pinned helplessly under a pile of heavy rubble. The flaming devil looms over the fallen hunter while Cropus desperately yells for Ruji to evacuate. Pinned by a boulder, Cropus urges Ruji to hurry to safety while he remains trapped. A wall of fire rises as Cropus promises to follow, though his situation looks grim. The skeletal giant stands directly over Cropus, casting a terrifying shadow upon the defenseless man. Cropus glares up at the monster, his face bruised and sweating under the intense heat. Ruji reaches for her bow, her fingers trembling as she prepares a desperate final shot. Drawing her string back, Ruji prepares to create a distraction so Cropus can find cover. The archer takes aim at the devil's glowing eye, her heart pounding with a frantic rhythm. Ruji waits for the monster to close the distance, focusing all her resolve into her arrow. With a steady breath, she holds her shot, praying for just one more second of time. Nearby, the once smug hunter flees in a coward's panic, his bravado completely extinguished. Screaming in terror, the man pushes past others, desperate to escape the inevitable slaughter. Cropus looks back in shock as Ruji prepares her final arrow amidst the inferno. A sudden impact sounds as someone urgently pulls Ruji back from the approaching fire. Ruji looks on in despair while Cropus watches his teammates perish in the flames. A massive gray fist clenches in fury as the hunters flee the impending slaughter. Cropus stares up with fierce determination while holding a fallen comrade close to him. The skeletal Shakrush raises its fiery arms and lets out a silent, terrifying scream. Back in the present, Sunju urges the great devil Treacle to move much faster. Senju rides on Treacle's head as they soar through the dark, lightning-streaked night sky. Treacle clenches his hand, declaring he is already flying at his absolute maximum speed. Hot Choco and Sunju look forward with intense focus as they approach the target. Treacle confirms that the scent in the air undoubtedly belongs to his friend Shakrush. Although Treacle notes the energy is weak, Seonju remains visibly overwhelmed by its power. They overlook a scorched canyon where Shakrush has laid complete waste to the land. Treacle lands on a ledge, realizing his old friend has completely lost his reason. Hot Choco spots the surviving hunters huddling near the massive flaming creature below them. The skeletal Shakrush looms over the tiny hunters, his fiery presence burning the earth. Seonju wonders if the hunters only survived because the great devil has grown weakened. Hot Choco explains that devils and angels grow more powerful through the act of worship. Without worship, they feed on similar intense emotions like raw fear, terror, and admiration. Seonju realizes Shakrush is farming the hunter's fear to sustain his own fading existence. Stepping forward, Treacle decides he must take responsibility and handle his maddened friend himself. Sunju is stunned, asking if Treacle really intends to kill his own long-lost friend. Treacle explains that an Akshay without reason is no longer a friend, but a monster. Treacle prepares for battle while Hot Choco asks about the mysterious nature of an Akshay. Dread fills Seonju as she witnesses the terrifying buildup of Treacle's ancient dark power. Hot Choco warns Sandu to brace herself for the collision of two great devils. A massive explosion of light erupts as Senju's white wings spread in sudden panic. Amidst a burst of manic laughter, Seonju fears that her journey has reached its end. Feathers drift through the air as Seonju falls helplessly through a bright white void. Senju lies motionless as a distant, desperate voice calls out to wake her up.
Opening her blue eyes, Seonju sees Ruji's dark silhouette through the dissipating battlefield smoke.
The skeletal giant burns with intense flames as Sunju remembers her mission to save Ruji. The hunters watch in disbelief as a divine power intervenes to save them from death. A system notification announces that Sunju successfully created a level 1 holy power barrier. Senju realizes her new barrier skills saved everyone just before she lost consciousness. Exhausted but relieved, Sunju is thankful that everyone managed to survive the ordeal. Ruji holds Senju's bandaged hands, weeping with relief while calling her a complete idiot. Looking up tiredly, Seonju blinks in confusion as Ruji leans over her in the tent.
The scene shifts to a campsite where the surviving hunters regroup at night.
A cooking pot bubbles over the fire as the weary expedition finally begins to heal. Ruji loudly scolds Sunju, demanding to know why she entered such a lethal, dangerous place. Though Ruji is thankful, she worries that Seonju is simply not built for combat. Seonju tries to calm her down, feeling awkward about her newfound status as a hero. Seonju explains her role was small, crediting the actual victory to the Great Devil Tricle. Ruji is confused as she apparently never saw the massive, noisy red devil nearby. Hachoko explains that Tricle departed on urgent business immediately after the battle concluded. Since the hunters were unconscious when the barrier broke, none of them saw Tricle leave. In a moment of quiet confusion, Sunju and Ruji stare blankly at each other. Approaching the campfire, a man pulls back the tent flap to check on Sanju. The veteran hunter smiles warmly, thanking Seonju for single-handedly saving their entire group. A system notification identifies the veteran hunter as Plan D, the leader of the expedition. Senju introduces herself to the leader, mentioning she learned about him from Ruti. Plan D expresses his gratitude before preparing to collect the fallen devil's remains. Eager to assist, Senju asks the veteran hunter to take her with him. Senju stands abruptly by the campfire, determined to join the scouting mission. Plan D looks back with concern, questioning if she is truly well enough. With a bright smile, the blonde girl insists she is feeling perfectly fine. Her confidence vanishes instantly as a wave of sudden, violent nausea hits her. Ruji cries out in horror as Senju hunches over and vomits green liquid. Chibi Ruji scolds her for lying while Plan D watches the mess in shock. Hot Choco explains the motion sickness is a side effect of her sudden stat increase. A status window reveals Seonju has reached level 5 with 51 holy power. The floating bunny excitedly confirms her divinity increased by 40 points through worship. Saving the lives of the expedition members has fueled her rapid spiritual growth. Survivors pray with tears of joy, their fear transformed into hope toward their savior. Hot Choco reminds her of Trickle's help while urging her to grow stronger independently. Back at the campsite, Plan D suggests the exhausted girl stay behind to rest. Sunju laughs nervously and insists on going, while Ruji weeps in the background. Heavy boots crunch across the gravel as they trek through the dark canyon. Plan D announces their arrival at the site where the Great Devil fell. They overlook the scorched earth where the final battle turned the canyon into ash. The massive, flaming skeletal remains of Shakrush lie broken and scattered across the ground.
Sunji was chilled to learn Trickle crushed the devil's head with his bare hands.
A flashback shows the sheer power of the Red Devil pulverizing the monster's skull. Plan D encourages Senju to scavenge for valuable items among the devil's remains. The prospect of finding riches instantly restores Senju's energy and excitement. Walking past the giant ribs, Seonju's white wings spread as she searches the ruins. Something unusual catches the girl's attention deep within the charred skeletal cage. A bright starlight glint shines from the darkness of the devil's chest cavity. Senju joyfully presents a massive glowing red orb to the surprised expedition leader. Plan D identifies the discovery as a Magi Pocket, a rare devil artifact. A diagram explains the pocket is a mana lump formed within a devil's heart. The residual magic of a fallen devil takes physical form after its life ends. The intense magical energy hardens into a solid, jewel-like orb within the chest. The hunter with the eye patch smugly claims the beautiful orb is actually worthless. Senju's face falls in disappointment upon hearing her find has no monetary value. A notification suggests discarding the orb as it will naturally vanish within 12 hours. Despite its lack of value, Seonju feels a strange, lingering attachment to the orb. A sharp sound rings out as a large crack suddenly splits the red surface. Senju gasps in surprise as the Magi Pocket begins to fracture in her hands. The orb shatters into a brilliant explosion of light that completely envelops the girl. System alerts announce that Sanju is absorbing a massive quantity of pure magi. Unable to handle the power, the system converts the excess energy into experience points. Sunju glows with divine light, her expression peaceful as the absorption process concludes. A new status window shows she has jumped to level 24 with massive stats. The scene shifts to a quiet desk crowded with medical bottles and paperwork. A freckled woman in a green shirt picks up a ringing telephone receiver. She listens intently to reports about the returning expedition and their current status. Turning away from her desk, the woman processes the weight of the incoming news. The exhausted nurse at Moran's hospital looks shocked by the number of critical injuries. Nurse Solemnia diligently organizes medical files at the busy Moran's hospital triage desk. A wooden cabinet stands filled with rows of glass medicine bottles and supplies. A doctor announces the high alert schedule for the incoming survivors of the Shakrush expedition. Weary medical staff dread the heavy burden of treating an influx of disaster victims. The grand white facade of Moran's hospital gleams under a bright, clear blue sky. A firm grasp rings out as a pair of gloved hands suddenly clasps another's. While Ruji scolds him, the bandaged hunter Kropus shamelessly flirts with the medical staff. The nurse shrieks in genuine shock as the relentless hunter continues his ill-timed advances. Solemnia gapes in disbelief as the supposedly doomed expedition members return in perfect health. The staff notes the hunters only suffered minor scratches despite fighting a great devil. A skeptical doctor and nurse Solemnia find the lack of critical injuries completely baffling. A seated hunter appears remarkably well, his only major injury being a bandaged leg. Solemnia and her colleague discuss the mysterious miracle that saved the entire hunting party. Plan D carries the unconscious blonde Xianju through the hospital's ornate blue-tiled hall bay. Clasping her clipboard, Solemnia wonders why such a young child accompanied the dangerous expedition. The stoic, bearded Plan D holds the sleeping Xianju securely while walking to her room. A narrative note confirms that among the survivors, only Senju required actual hospitalization. The doctor jovially assigns the care of the mysterious child to the startled nurse Solemnia. A startling revelation confirms that the unconscious child was the one who healed everyone. Ruji and Plan D watch over Sanju as she lies motionless in her bed. Ruji proudly explains to the shocked nurse that Sanju possesses an incredible healing ability. A fiery flashback reveals how Xianju's power ensured the team's safe return from the inferno. A severely burned hunter laments the horrific nature of their near-fatal expedition before the miracle. Before Sanju intervened, the medical camp was a desperate scene of death and suffering. The wounded hunters look on in dazed silence as their fatal injuries suddenly vanish. To the survivors, the blonde girl appeared as a divine angel of pure salvation. A system window explains how Xianju's power interacts with the faith of her believers. Her holy power and stats increase dramatically based on the number of people worshipping her. Witnesses describe the miracle of Senju healing dozens of injured people all at once. Plan D and Ruji recount Senju's sudden collapse after her massive expenditure of divinity. The group feels relieved that the doctor diagnosed her condition as mere light exhaustion. Solemnia enthusiastically vows to monitor her little hero's condition until she finally wakes up. Senju remains in a deep restorative slumber with an IV drip in her room. Time passes quietly in the hospital room, marked by a ticking antique mantel clock. Solemnia leans over the bed, beginning her attentive morning routine for her special patient. Looking after the mysterious blonde girl has become the primary joy of Solemnia's day. Bright morning sunlight fills the room as the freckled nurse draws back the curtains. The warm light illuminates Sanju's serene face as she continues her long, peaceful sleep. Soft sunlight glints off the girl's long golden hair resting against the white pillow. Watching the peaceful girl, Solemnia feels a sense of spiritual purity and calm happiness. Historical texts depict ancient mages seeking the forbidden secrets of life and death. Dark arts often involved sacrificial rituals and incantations using blood-red magical crystals. Legends speak of a forbidden spell that sacrifices many lives to revive a single soul. Solemnia realizes Xianju's selfless ability to heal without asking a price is truly legendary. The nurse stands watch, mesmerized by the child whose power defies all known magical laws. A heavy realization dawns upon the nurse as she considers the girl's mysterious nature. Sanju's expression remains tranquil while her body recovers from the massive stat increase. Solemnia reaches out with a gentle hand to check the sleeping girl's forehead for fever. A sudden, sharp startle sound rings out as Solemnia jumps at an unexpected visitor. Flustered and blushing, Chibi Solnemia quickly invites the visitor to enter the hospital room. Narrative text notes that Senju's hospital room is constantly filled with activity. A crowd of hunters arrives with flowers and gifts to thank their young savior. The gray-haired man greets the room while holding a large, vibrant red bouquet. Solemnia recognizes the frequent visitors who have returned yet again to check on Xianju. The hunter asks about the sleeping girl's well-being after stopping by for another visit. Grateful survivors and well-wishers continue to bring beautiful floral offerings to the hospital room. Solemnia politely accepts the flowers to help decorate the room for the sleeping patient. The room overflows with extravagant gifts from various guild masters and famous adventurers. Holding yet another bouquet, the freckled nurse begins to feel slightly overwhelmed by the gifts. Seonju remains fast asleep, surrounded by a mountain of red flowers filling every corner. Solemnia imagines the blonde girl waking up frustrated by the excessive and crowded floral display. The nurse gazes at Senju, marveling at the immense magic power contained within her. A mysterious man in a black suit enters the room, catching Solemnia completely off guard.
A rhythmic tap-tap sounds as he assesses the kid's unique looks and personality.
The smug man and his blue-haired secretary Seal stand before the startled nurse. Solemnia questions who the uninvited visitor is, noting that visiting hours have already passed. The man approaches the bed while Solemnia watches him with a confused, wary expression. He learns that the child has been unconscious for 3 days while holding a rose. Smirking, the man looks down at the sleeping Sunju while holding a single red rose. He casually mentions following proper procedures despite his sudden and unannounced arrival at the hospital.
Solemnia watches suspiciously as the man places the flower on the sleeping girl's white bed.
Turning to his secretary, the man asks if she has the documents he needs. Seal chides her boss for his forgetfulness while holding a thick brown document envelope. The man in the suit takes the envelope, dismissively denying that he ever forgot it. He pulls out the paperwork, a knowing and confident smile spreading across his face. Looking at the reports, the man expresses a sense of weary amusement at the situation. He analyzes her stats, noting her power seems more suited for combat than supporting.
The visitor decides to leave, promising to speak with Sunju more after she awakens.
He prepares to depart after requesting that his regards be given to the girl layer. Solemnia watches in silence as the mysterious pair walks away from the hospital bed. A thud sounds as Cell places a large briefcase down as a gift for Sunju. The nurse asks for the man's identity, but he does not provide a name. With a final mysterious smirk, the visitor leaves the hospital room with his secretary. Sunju continues her peaceful rest, now with a red rose tucked behind her ear. The next morning, Solemnia gasps in surprise as the blonde girl finally begins stirring. Senju sits up in her bed, looking around as the nurse rushes to her side. The girl looks away with a sharp, serious gaze in her bright blue eyes. A notification confirms that Senju has finally regained consciousness after her long restorative recovery. Solemnia is shocked when the first words out of Senju's mouth are blunt and rude. Narrative text explains that the nurse was unprepared for the girl's true, difficult personality. Senju grumpily pulls the rose from her hair, looking deeply annoyed by the gift. Outside the hospital, voices discuss the girl's remarkably quick and complete physical recovery. Dr. Hooklim reviews Sunju's medical charts with a stern, focused, and professional expression. Sitting in the doctor's office, Senju is asked about any physical abnormalities or discomfort. The blonde girl complains loudly about the bad hospital food and demands better meals. Solemnia is horrified, realizing her angelic patient is actually a total train wreck. The nurse tries to interject as the doctor stares at the outspoken girl in disbelief. Dr. Hooklim wonders if her encounter with the demon left her mentally unstable or traumatized. Solemnia nervously laughs, trying to usher Senju away before the doctor's patience finally explodes. Senju firmly stands her ground, boldly declaring that she will make her own decisions. Chibi Dr. Hooklim praises Solemnia's insight, causing the nurse to sigh in relief. Senju looks confused while dialogue reveals her soul is a 26-year-old male. Speech bubbles describe a complicated and unstoppable love life saga from her previous life. Senju laughs and warns Solemnia that her story will bring the nurse to tears. Dr. Hooklim smirks knowingly, leaning over his desk as he listens to the child. A hand reaches for a premium wine bottle, suggesting it as a better consolation. Solemnia's eyes widen in absolute shock as she shouts for the professor's attention. Panicking, Chibi Solemnia protests that giving alcohol to a child is completely inappropriate. Sunju gazes at the vintage wine while a system window details its premium quality. While Senju admires the gift, Dr. Hooklim decides she is healthy enough for discharge. Reflections on the red bottle show the doctor warning Sunju to stay out of trouble. Looking at anatomy diagrams, the doctor advises Sunju to study medicine properly with books. Solemnia hurriedly thanks the doctor while muffling Sunju's loud protests with her hand. Solemnia ushers the grumpy blonde girl out of the office under the doctor's watchful eye. As Solemnia guides her away, the scene shifts to a visualization of internal blood vessels. Sunju smiles, realizing she only remembers very basic biology from her past elementary school days. A large, detailed heart appears alongside text explaining his medical knowledge is extremely limited. Dr. Hooklim feels a sense of professional defeat, his decades of experience feeling suddenly useless. Resting his hand on a paper, the doctor admits feeling jealous of the girl's power. Solemnia struggles with heavy medical books in the background as Senju departs the room. Solemnia clutches a book, wondering if Senju's blunt attitude stems from a fear of adults. Sunju looks at her dirty, blood-stained clothes, asserting her maturity despite her youthful appearance. Solemnia points out new clothes among the gifts, surprising the blonde girl with the news. A sturdy brown suitcase sits surrounded by floral bouquets, holding a fresh set of clothes. Seonju looks over her shoulder, blonde hair gleaming as she prepares to change her outfit.
Salimia blushes and gasps in delight at the prospect of her patient's new look.
Sinju appears in a stylish white shirt, black shorts, and a navy priest robe. Solemnia squeals with joy, watching the blushing Seonju admire her high-quality new equipment. A system window identifies the gift as a priest's robe embroidered with magical stardust. Chibi Senju examines her stats, wondering what the 120 protect points actually signify.
A round floating spirit with tiny arms explains that PP serves as a defensive shield.
A loud wah rings out as Sunju suddenly punches the chattering white spirit. Sunju angrily berates the spirit for its long absence while the little creature pleads forgiveness.
The spirit floats nearby as Senju is asked who provided her with such excellent gear.
Solemnia carries boxes while Sunju reveals the gift came from a mysterious person named Chili.
Narrative text notes that Seonju was instructed to visit the guild immediately after her discharge.
The smug man in the suit and Seol wait, having anticipated the girl's arrival.
Sanju pauses with the spirit on her shoulder, unsure why they want to see her.
Under a bright sky, Senju looks at the grand city and decides to stop by nearby.
Seonju looks horrified as she learns about a disastrous complication regarding her previous home.
An official with a monocle attempts to soothe a furious visitor whose fist is clenched.
Narrative bubbles explain that rental villas left vacant for a month are eligible for reassignment.
A creaking sounds as an abandoned, dark room with a tagged door is revealed.
Sunju slams her hand on the counter, berating the official for such a ridiculous rule.
The official holds up a document indicating the specific clause within the signed rental contract. A sharp shock sound rings out as Chibi Senju realizes the rule was truly in writing. The official informs a devastated Sunju that they can no longer assist with her housing. Sunlight hits a tall tower in Shirley Plyan as someone offers a sincere, formal apology. Residents of the city of Summoners walk through the streets, accompanied by glowing blue windows. Faint blue system screens drift through a bright white light, marking a change in focus. Narrative text emphasizes that everyone lives a life reflecting their own unique path. While some find peace in ordinary city jobs, others crave a more adventurous life. The scene shifts from domestic stability to the call of the grand wild mountains.
Eager adventurers explore the unknown wilderness, tracking rare and mysterious creatures through the forest.
Sunju stands amidst the bustling city crowd, looking completely overwhelmed by her new surroundings. Clinging to her wine bottle, the blonde girl realizes her current situation is quite dire.
A desperate wah rings out as Seonju screams about her sudden and unwanted homelessness.
Promotional credits acknowledge the team responsible for translating the saga of the Devil's Pocket. The large bearded man laughs uproariously at the blonde girl's unfortunate and sudden housing crisis. Slumped on the ornate couch, Sanju admits she never expected to lose her apartment. The bearded man reassures her, noting they have plenty of rooms available for her.
Over freshly poured tea, Seonju decides her next move must lead to high-paying work.
The bearded man explains that top-tier summoners target massive, legendary beasts to prove their power.
He suggests that dungeons are the best starting point for a newcomer like Senjir.
Narrative text defines dungeons as mysterious, unknown spaces whispered about in old rumors and guidebooks.
These dangerous realms are rumored to contain immense gold, jewels, and powerful unseen creatures.
Adventurers risk their lives in these hunting grounds, facing colossal monsters for fortune and glory. Senju worries about the safety of solo dungeoneering while the bearded man chuckles at her. He describes how summoners imbue equipment with magical power, creating highly specialized functional items. The man points out that Sunju's stylish new outfit is actually a powerful enchanted item. Startled, the blonde girl realizes she was wearing high-grade gear without even knowing it. A memory shows Nurse Solemnia helping Seonju open the gift sent by the mysterious Chili. Senju determines she must visit her benefactor to offer him her sincere and proper thanks. She explains that Chili gave her no specific mission, only an unannounced invitation to visit. The bearded man encourages the meeting while Senju reveals her true secret motive for going. A glowing blue book flickers as Sanju seeks information on the third scripture of Ronin. Facing a massive blue dragon, she reflects on her divine quest for the god of faith. Back in the present, the blonde girl remains lost in her deep, troubled thoughts.
The bearded man notices her preoccupation with the mysterious scripture she mentioned during their conversation.
He reveals that elite demon hunters hold the cards regarding the world's most guarded secrets.
Looking down at the pair, the gravity of the rare demon hunter's influence is discussed. He explains that Chili happens to have unusually close ties with those secretive demon hunters. The smug man in the black suit, Chili, smiles knowingly while hiding his true intentions. Narrative text suggests that Sanju may already be aware of the scripture's profound existence. Accompanied by her spirit companion, Sanju prepares to leave the city on her next journey. Looking at the bright sky, Sonju mentions that Rinko packed a bag for their trip. Walking through the market, the blonde girl is encouraged to check out some new weapons. Senju agrees, deciding that her first priority should be choosing a reliable new weapon.
A ting sounds as they enter a shop filled with various armors and sharp blades.
Narrative text questions if a healer like Seonju actually needs a weapon for her journey. Sunju firmly asserts that she will not walk around empty-handed in such a dangerous world. She walks through the forge, wondering what kind of weapon would truly suit her style. Rinko suggests that a ranged weapon, like a bow, would be best for her build. Looking at a heavy sword, Sunju admits she hates hiding in the back during combat. An ornate, glowing sword is presented as the king of all weapons since ancient times. Bubbles suggests that blunt weapons or battle axes might actually be more efficient for her. Chibi Sanju pouts, admitting that she simply wants to use a sword regardless of efficiency. Rinko makes a hilariously intense face while declaring that swords simply look awesome. A visualization shows how sword users channel sharp, focused ki energy into their blades. Senju struggles with a crooked blade, realizing her holy power is fundamentally opposite to ki. A golden shield with a purple cord depicts a holy, winged figure praying. The spirit continues its lecture while Sunju decisively chooses her new equipment. Ignoring the floating spirit's complaints, Seonju approaches the shop counter to finalize her purchase.
A sharp pat rings out as the frustrated spirit scolds Seonju for choosing a heavy mace.
Sunju questions why she shouldn't use a weapon that complements her holy powers. The young blacksmith looks on with a sweat drop, confused by the odd pair's bickering.
A heavy da-dung sounds as the blacksmith questions if the small girl can handle the mace.
Under a bright sky, Senju insists on foregoing gift wrapping for her crude new weapon. Walking away with her pack, Sanju beams with satisfaction despite the spirit's disapproval. The floating spirit asks if she is finished, but Sanju remains lost in thought.
A look of sudden realization washes over the blonde girl's face.
Standing amidst a floral market stall, Sanju searches for one final crucial item.
A stylish blue hat sits on a mannequin, catching Sanju's eye. Her face pressed against the glass, Sunju joyfully decides to purchase the headwear. A vibrant blue bird watches as narrative text describes Sunju's excitement for adventure. For other weary travelers, the road is merely a repetitive and exhausting cycle. A group of adventurers navigates a steep forest trail, strictly following their map. Low on supplies, the travelers grumble about the lack of convenience on the trail. Despite the physical toll, the promise of discovery keeps the group moving forward. As the sun sets, the promise of treasures and monsters lures the brave onward. The leader of the group suggests they find a place to stop for the night. Narrative text hints that a fateful new encounter is waiting just around the corner. Holding a glowing lantern, the leader is identified as the head of the wanted party. Under a star-filled sky, the leader prepares for a much-needed rest after their journey. A regal white-haired woman and a silver-haired man appear as the scene shifts. The wanted party, a group of summoned adventurers, settles into their camp for the night. Lacking special powers, the group relies on experience and shared goals to grow. Countless pink eyes glow in the dark woods, signaling that monsters are watching their bonfire. The leader, Pant, is praised for his careful nature and the stability of his party. Looking up at the starry sky, someone acknowledges the current, quiet situation. Pant decides to scout the area alone while his companions finish setting up their camp. Carrying his lantern, Pant bravely ventures into the dense, dark foliage of the woods. His friends wave him off, promising to have a warm dinner ready upon his return. A crackling tuk-tuk sounds from the campfire as the party settles in to wait. The dark blue night sky stretches over the forest, silent and expectant. Narrative boxes float over the treetops as time passes in the quiet, nocturnal woods. Pant carefully navigates the rocky terrain, lantern light flickering against the stones. A heavy boot steps onto the uneven ground, the path becoming increasingly restricted. A thought bubble suggests the difficult terrain might actually deter monster attacks. A sudden rustle in the trees catches Pant's attention, causing him to freeze. Pant ducks behind the greenery, his eyes widening as he spots something unexpected ahead. Squinting through the darkness, the leader tries to identify the figure hidden in the shadows. He considers an ambush, fearing that a monster might be lying in wait for him. Pant stares at a small silhouette sitting alone in a clearing among white flowers. The brown-haired leader looks confused as he gets a closer look at the figure. Sunju is discovered fast asleep, huddled on the ground in her new hat and coat. Pant realizes this isn't a doll or a monster, but a sleeping girl. A startled ack escapes someone as the silence of the woods is broken. A close-up reveals one of Sanju's bright blue eyes snapping open in the dark. Pant is gripped by shock as the mysterious sleeping figure suddenly awakens.
Pant jumps back in sudden surprise as he discovers Sunju hidden within the bushes.
A sleepy boo-wit sounds as the blonde girl wakes up, asking what he is. Seonju introduces herself, though Pant admits he never actually asked for her name. Pant expresses sheer disbelief that the young girl managed to get lost in these woods. He asks about her hunting companions, wondering how a child ended up here alone.
Sunju reveals she has no companions or home, gripping her blood-stained spiked mace tightly.
Pant warns that even hunters face danger here at night, asking if she has supplies.
Looking incredibly adorable, Sunju admits she just wants to find a place to sleep. Seeing her plight, Pant kindly invites the blonde girl to follow him to his camp.
Under the vast, starry sky, Pant explains that their party's campsite is located nearby.
Sunju enthusiastically chomps down on a massive, succulent piece of roasted meat at the camp. The party members pity the girl, lamenting that even the gods can be heartless sometimes. Sunju blushes with joy as the group realizes she is the legendary rumored healer.
Narrative bubbles suggest the party is eager to witness her famed healing abilities firsthand.
The group gathers around a crackling bonfire, gently scolding one another for gossiping during dinner. Sunju sits comfortably with the party, listening as they talk about the local rumors. The blonde girl doesn't mind the attention, focused solely on the meal she's receiving.
The purple-haired adventurer invites Seonju to join their dungeon expedition the following morning.
He explains they are a summoned party here to explore a newly discovered, naturally occurring dungeon.
A man wearing glasses steps forward, offering to explain exactly what that type of dungeon is.
He begins his lecture describing the vast number of isolated dimension-type dungeons that exist.
A close-up of nearly touching hands represents the simulated nature of these magical substitute spaces. These spaces are modeled after real locations, essentially serving as a mirror of the world.
In these realms, past historical events or even impossible dreams can play out vividly.
A dark silhouette clutches its head in agony, highlighting how difficult these dungeons are to clear. He mentions magic dungeons where ancient sorcerers hid their secret techniques and treasures long ago. The value of the treasures left behind in these ruins is often considered astronomical.
Pant brings the focus back to the third type, the naturally occurring dungeon they are targeting.
He describes how a powerful monster attracts others, turning the area into a dense danger zone. These zones are highly favored by summoners looking for concentrated monster spawns and rare materials. Sunju recalls hearing that hunters often struggle to even breathe within such magical dungeon environments. The group explains that low-level hunting grounds like this one aren't nearly that oppressive. Pant tells the girl to take her time and decide her answer after waking up tomorrow. The purple-haired man checks in with his leader, who happily confirms the sleeping arrangements.
He points out a small, quiet tent they have already prepared for her to use tonight.
A tired Pew escapes Seonju as she finally lies down to rest inside the tent. Floating above her, the white spirit asks if she is seriously considering going with them. Seonju imagines the friendly party as a group of hilariously menacing and eccentric villains. She explains that coming from a harsh world taught her to judge every person coolly. The white spirit's wings flutter as it listens intently to the blonde girl's internal reasoning. The spirit notes that despite her caution, she seemed genuinely happy while discussing the dungeon. A flashback shows the campsite filled with laughter as Sunju enjoyed the group's warm company. Sunju's blue eyes widened as she realizes her excitement might have been clearly visible. She wonders aloud if her joy was really that obvious to the small spirit friend. Narrative text reflects her realization that she cannot pass up a good opportunity to grow. The white spirit looks absolutely thrilled, realizing that Sunju has indeed decided to go. Smiling to herself, the blonde girl resolves to get a good night's sleep first. Narrative text confirms their plan to depart for the dungeon early the next morning.
The sun begins to rise over the jagged mountains and the quiet, expectant adventurer camp.
The entrance to a massive cave looms as rumors of the creature Overreich fill the air. Trekking through the sun-drenched woods, Paladin and Senju lead their party toward the case. Sunju pauses at the cave entrance, considering the rumors of a monster named Overreich. Paladin explains that a powerful mountain-sized wolf has claimed this territory, driving the previous boss away. He clarifies that the monster's name is actually just a nickname given by local hunters. Sunju scoffs at the hunter's terrible naming sense, while Paladin offers a sheepish, nervous grin. Paladin warns Sunju to stay safe, but she jokingly claims her best skill is running away. Amidst tangled vines, the party reflects on her questionable claim of being a trustworthy ally.
The group decides to push deeper into the cavern before the outside light fades completely.
They step into the oppressive gloom of the deep tunnel, leaving the sun behind them. Their boots crunch on the cave floor as they realize the pitch darkness is absolute. Paladin urges everyone to watch their step as their dim flashlights struggle against the shadows.
A system notification announces that Senju's automatic vision skill has activated, turning her gaze blue.
Paladin eyes the flashlights with skepticism, wondering if their modern tools will truly be enough. Seonju and the sprite discuss the local region's surprisingly advanced technology despite the rustic setting. Suddenly, the blue-haired hunter's flashlight begins to flicker and die, much to the group's concern.
He realizes the battery is dead, prompting Paladin to check if anyone brought a spare.
The green-haired girl and her companion admit they are out of batteries as well.
Chibi Sunju holds her useless flashlight, baffled by the group's complete lack of basic preparation.
A system alert warns Senju that her own battery is failing, irritating her with its uselessness.
The hunters debate waiting for sunlight or trekking back to Hereta for fresh supplies.
Paladin tries to mediate, encouraging his companions to stay calm despite their dimming lights.
The purple-haired hunter suggests using an expensive combat flashlight as a final, desperate resort. Confused by the unfamiliar term, Sanju asks exactly what a combat flashlight is supposed to be. He displays a small white orb, explaining its use as a temporary light for non-magical parties. Sanju offers to use her own divine power instead, though the sprite warns of the cost. A sudden blue system window catches the blonde girl off guard as she prepares to cast. 3 notifications detail a new skill that illuminates the area and heals allies' wounds continuously. Delighted by the timely discovery, Seonju prepares to activate the perfect skill for their dark predicament. Raising her hand, she calls forth a brilliant spark that cuts through the cavern's heavy gloom. Paladin turns in surprise as a sudden call for action rings out through the dark tunnel. A sudden pwong! Sunju beams with pride, asking if her brilliant orb provides enough light for their journey.
Her companions watch in awe, debating whether her newfound power is a skill or true magic.
Sunju clarifies it's just a skill, while the red-haired man explains the complexity of formal magic. Gleaming magic circles appear as he describes the rigorous formulas and mana management required for spells. He emphasizes that magic is fundamentally different from skills, requiring deep study and mental calculation. The red-haired man sighs, realizing Senju is ignoring his lecture and marching deeper into the cave. A massive white tail slithers past as Senju confidently leads the party toward their target. Voices echo in the darkness, urging others not to push as they navigate the narrow passage. A colossal white serpent suddenly looms in the distance, casting a long, intimidating shadow over them.
Sensing immediate danger, Paladin grabs Sanju and commands her to step back from the approaching threat.
A terrifying poison snake with a wolf's head and glowing green eyes emerges from the dark. The 2 companions stand frozen before the massive creature as it prepares its deadly assault. A warning is shouted, reminding the party of the unique dangers posed by this legendary predator. The blue-haired warrior steps forward with his shield raised, volunteering to take the lead. The wolf-headed serpent bearing its sharp fangs lets out a low, menacing growl at the intruders. The monster lunges forward with incredible speed, prompting a desperate shout to warn the party.
Looming over the hunters, the gargantuan white beast strikes with its massive fanged maw.
The blue-haired shield-bearer strains to block the beast's powerful bite as it snaps at his protection.
Paladin slashes at the monster's tail while his allies launch a coordinated counterattack from the flank.
Watching from safety, Sanju is genuinely amazed by the combat prowess displayed by her seasoned companions.
Dark, sinuous snake tails lash through the air as the dungeon battle intensifies. Pant and his coordinated party strike down a massive white serpent with a sharp ka'at. Watching the fierce combat from the sidelines, Sanju wonders if her help is needed.
Panic erupts as the spirit screams Senju's name, pointing toward a pained, injured adventurer.
A brutal, jagged wound bleeds profusely on the green-haired man's arm, staining his white sleeve. Senju rushes toward the injured man, her face pale with worry for his shredded shoulder. Gripping his arm, the green-haired man gasps that a venomous snake bit him during combat. Kneeling beside the victim, Senju worries that the injury looks far deeper than a bite. A blue system window suddenly flickers to life, flashing a bright warning before Sanju. The notification reveals the presence of Camilla snake's poison, complicating Seonju's initial healing plan. Frustration grips Seonju as she realizes she lacks the specific knowledge to remove deadly venom. The floating white spirit takes command, instructing Sanju to activate her healing touch ability immediately. The spirit explains that she must use the power to extract the poison rather than close the wound. Surrounded by floating question marks, the confused blonde girl struggles to grasp the spirit's complex instructions. Stealing her resolve with a soft breath, Senju prepares to attempt the unconventional detoxification method. Focusing all her concentration, the girl's blue eyes snaps open with newfound clarity and determination. The narrative emphasizes her singular goal, pinpointing the exact location of the invading snake venom. A gentle glow emanates from Senju's hand as she hovers it over the pained man's arm. Deep within his flesh, Seonju senses an unclean, purple energy that does not belong there. Concentrated mana begins to pull the toxic purple liquid toward the surface of the bloody wound. With intense focus, Sanju channels her divine energy to drag the remaining poison out entirely. The white spirit watches intently, asking if Sanju can finally feel the location of the venom. A confident smile plays on Sanju's lips as she confirms her success in locating the threat.
A bright pat sounds as the system grants her a new ability to detect specific poisons.
Pure purple venom splashes into the air, signaling the creation of her level 1 detoxification skill. A floating orb of extracted poison hovers silently, safely removed from the adventurer's healing body.
A final system notification confirms that the dangerous venom has been completely purged from the target. Clutching the floating orb of toxicity, Senju beams with pride after her first successful poison removal. Promotional artwork features a regal couple, marking a brief transition in the dungeon adventure story.
A thunderous quang echoes through the cavern, marking the end of the snake-infested battlefield. Pant sighs with relief after clearing the snakes, noting his blade has dulled from the venom. Looking around the gore-streaked clearing, the brown-haired leader wonders where the young healer has gone.
The party gazes at Sunju in awe, marveling at the holy aura of her incredible abilities.
While Senju treats a blue-haired man, system windows confirm the party's growing trust and power.
Concerned for her stamina, the White Spirit asks if she is overextending her divine healing gifts. Sanju admits the process is taxing, while the spirit reminds her to manage her mana carefully.
A brown-haired woman approaches the group, cheekily asking if she can be the next patient. Amidst a background of blooming roses, she dramatically laments her recently broken heart and emotional wounds.
The spirit angrily shouts at the joking woman, while Pant offers a playful, mischievous grin. The group continues their trek deeper, thanking Seonju for keeping them all completely injury-free.
Pant encourages everyone to move slowly as the path ahead into the cave remains long.
The physical and magical toll finally hit Sunju, making her look like a hollowed-out ghost.
Walking alongside the others, Sunju listens as they discuss the lucrative monster cores they've collected. A heavy pouch overflows with shimmering, pearlescent cores that promise to fetch a high market price. The blue-haired man explains that these cores are their primary income source, unlike fleeting demon energy. The party promises Seonju a generous share of the profits once they exit the dungeon depths.
Curious about her personal growth, Sunju summons her system screen to check her current level.
The spirit screams in shock as Sunju's status screen reveals she has reached level 30. They realize the massive jump occurred because they hunted high-level monsters as an efficient party. Dozens of skill windows float in the blue void, showcasing Seonju's rapidly expanding arsenal of powers. The red-haired man curiously asks why the group doesn't use skills while they hunt. Sinyu looks completely baffled as a sudden burst of laughter echoes through the cavern. The red-haired adventurer explains that skills are quite rare and not easily obtained by everyone. Floating nearby, the white spirit notes that the requirements to gain a skill are incredibly strict. He explains that skills usually manifest only after someone repeatedly performs a very specific action. A glowing blue skill core represents the rare alternative method of obtaining new magical powers.
A man winces in agony, illustrating how some skills carry dangerously heavy physical downsides. Pant tells the blonde girl that her effortless healing ability is truly a divine blessing.
Noticing the shifting atmosphere, Pant realizes they are finally nearing the monster's hidden lair.
Narrative text suggests that the creature Overreich may have forced its followers to dig tunnels.
Senju suddenly freezes in place, sensing something wrong and calling for the group to wait.
A foul, sewer-like stench begins to fill the air, catching the blonde healer off guard.
The rest of the party looks around in confusion, unable to detect any strange odors.
The spirit realizes only Sunju can smell the rot as she covers her nose in disgust.
It explains that her smell is actually her heightened sensitivity to a powerful magical presence. Sunju stares up at the massive, gnarled roots that seem to be blocking their path forward. Spotting something significant, the blonde girl urgently calls for her companions to come look. Sunju realizes she has successfully pinpointed the hidden path leading toward their dangerous target.
A look of realization washes over her as she confirms this is Overreich's hiding place. Pant carefully reaches out to inspect the dark, textured barrier blocking the group's advance. An adventurer asks the captain if he sees anything suspicious behind the strange cave walls.
The party stands at the ready, weapons drawn and eyes fixed on the path ahead.
The purple-haired man explains that Pant is the only one who has seen the boss.
Seonju is stunned to learn that the rest of the group is quiet. A flashback reveals a younger Pant sweating with effort during his first encounter with Overreich.
High above on a rocky outcrop, the silhouette of a massive wolf represents the legendary boss. The purple-haired man asks Sunju if she remembers his earlier description of the giant wolf.
He explains that, unlike most twisted monsters, Overreich looks like a perfectly normal large wolf.
A close-up of a fierce dark wolf illustrates Overreich's deceptively simple and natural appearance. The man explains that the creature's true power lies in its unnaturally dense and developed muscles.
Sanju listens intently as she learns that Overreich's hide is tough enough to resist spears.
Looking slightly overwhelmed, the blonde girl wonders how they could possibly hunt such a beast.
Pant steps forward with a calm confidence, asserting that the group is ready for this fight. Narrative text reveals that Overreich was once a pack leader but now lives in isolation.
A vision of a pack highlights the social structure the rogue boss was once part of.
The text explains that the boss was eventually driven out by its own kind. An image of a wounded wolf emphasizes the vulnerability that led to the creature's exile. Pant points out that the deep leg injury he caused likely made it a burden. The man with glasses notes that in the monster world, weakness leads to immediate abandonment.
Pant clenches his fist, determined to take advantage of the boss's old, unhealed injury.
Seonju looks confused, unsure if the monster being weakened makes it any less dangerous. The captain warns the group to stay alert despite the monster's previous injuries and age. Pant checks in with a party member to ensure their primary explosives are prepared.
A sharp crackle sounds as the fuse is lit, signaling the start of the final assault.
The white spirit gently encourages Seonju, telling her she has nothing to fear with her team. It reminds her that as a summoner, she must finish the job she has started. The spirit's eyes narrow with determination, ready to support the blonde girl in battle. A confident smile spreads across Senju's face as she prepares to face the dungeon boss.
Senju readies herself for action, her resolve hardening as the moment of impact approaches.
Brandishing a heavy mace, the blonde healer stands ready to charge into the boss's lair. A call to action echoes through the cavern, urging the party to face their target. Deep within the rocky chamber, the legendary wolf Overreich lies sleeping in total silence. A close-up reveals a deep, jagged scar over the massive monster's closed right eye. Suddenly, a thunderous quang sounds as a massive explosion rocks the cavernous floor. Pant and his companions stand ready as thick, dark smoke begins to fill the clearing. The brown-haired leader notes that the group has successfully found a safe vantage point. Looking tense and sweating, Pant focuses his gaze on the epicenter of the debris. An ominous sound vibrates through the darkness as the monster begins to rouse itself. Ground tremors suggest the heavy creature is preparing to stand amidst the rising dust. Overreich's fierce yellow eyes snap open, glowing with a deadly and predatory intensity. Pant watches intently from the shadows, monitoring the boss's every move with bated breath. The blue-haired man remains on guard while Pant observes the monster's uncharacteristic stillness. Focusing on the wolf's hind leg, Pant realizes the previous injury is quite severe. The leader orders his companions to stay alert as they prepare to engage the target. With a fierce expression, the brown-haired man shouts the order to begin the assault. Weapon in hand, Pant leads the charge as the group rushes toward the beast. Intense flashes of movement and clashing sounds fill the air during the initial encounter. Hearing her name called, Seonju turns back toward her companions with a worried look. The blonde healer rushes toward a fallen ally, warning that her wounds are serious.
Kneeling beside the brown-haired woman, Sunju urgently asks where she has been injured.
Channeling her power, Sunju worries that treatment time is shortening as injuries rapidly mount. The purple-haired man listens as Senju devises a plan to connect her healing light. Divine energy flows from Seonju's fingertips as she attempts an unconventional, wide-range magical technique. Shimmering strands of golden light stretch across the battlefield to reach her distant companions. The green-haired girl and her companions stare in awe at the spreading holy energy. Glowing system notifications confirm Seonju's healing ability has leveled up and extended its range. The white spirit cheers in triumph as the new distance-based healing method succeeds perfectly. The brown-haired woman and her ally look up, feeling their strength miraculously return. Shimmering wings of light expand across the cavern, bathing the party in restorative energy. Radiant and powerful, the blonde girl is hailed as a true and divine healer. Seeing his team recovered, Pant confidently signals it is time for their next move. With renewed vigor, the brown-haired captain commands the party to charge one last time. Senju looks at her hands, innocently wondering if this incredible power is common for everyone. The white spirit playfully admits it isn't easy, calling the blonde girl a literal angel.
A sudden look of horror crosses Seonju's face as a massive shadow looms behind her.
Overreich lunges from the dark, targeting the healer while she is momentarily distracted. The winged silhouette of the girl is reflected in the wolf's predatory golden eye.
The beast moves with a terrifying blur of speed, closing the distance in seconds.
Senju sweats with fear as she realizes she has made a grave tactical error. The wolf leaps through the air, sailing over the front lines toward the vulnerable Weir.
Pant shouts a desperate warning as the monster aims its deadly fangs at Senju.
Paralyzed by the creature's overwhelming energy, Senju prepares to somehow endure the coming impact. Overreich's massive jaws snap open, ready to crush the small healer in one bite. A blue system window flickers to life, granting Senju the level 1 combat sense skill. Senju's blue eyes flare with an intense, magical light as her survival instincts awaken. The predatory wolf looks momentarily confused as its target moves with inhuman agility. Senju executes a perfect dodge, her winged form narrowly escaping the beast's snapping teeth. Pant and the purple-haired man watch in stunned silence as the healer evades the attack. Overeye skids to a halt, looming over the girl as the battlefield turns deathly quiet. Gasping for breath, Senju stares at her hands, shocked that her body moved automatically. Senju's hand grips her weapon tightly as a surge of sudden realization hits her. The massive wolf overreich looms over Sanju, baring its razor-sharp teeth with a low, menacing growl. Senju stands her ground with a smirk before the beast lunges with its jaws wide open. Looking upward with serene confidence, the blonde girl prepares to turn the tide of the battle. Senju moves with divine speed, dancing around the dark wolf strikes as she realizes her potential. Gritting her teeth, the girl clenches her mace, determined to fight according to her own will. A heavy pyock sounds as Sanju lands a powerful blow, declaring her readiness to join the fray. The giant wolf stands panting and wounded while Sanju watches its movements with a sharp, calculating gaze. Sanju pouts in frustration, noting that her attacks only seem to annoy the incredibly durable monster. The predator doesn't wait, charging toward the blonde healer again with lethal, focused speed. A sharp whish echoes as the wolf leaps, narrowly avoiding a projectile sent to intercept its path. Pant and the other adventurers rush forward, the leader shouting a desperate order to protect their healer. A firm hand lands on Sanju's shoulder as a companion urgently checks to see if she's injured. The purple-haired man gives a supportive thumbs up, telling the girl to step back and leave the rest to them. Refusing to sit out, the chibi Sanju charges back into action while Pant warns her of the danger. In a flurry of comical strikes, Sanju relentlessly whacks the monster with her heavy mace. Multiple impacts sound as the girl pummels the beast, leaving the purple-haired man completely speechless and bewildered. With one final glittering strike, Sanju declares that this aggressive combat approach is truly her style. A stunned silence falls over the battlefield as the companion concludes that the healer is genuinely wild. Standing over the defeated creature, Senju finds the monster cute and wishes she could raise a puppy like it. The spirit hovers as the party gathers around the fallen overreich, wondering if the beast can be tamed. The small white spirit laughs, explaining that taming a monster of this caliber is an impossible task. Sanju's face lights up with disappointment as she imagines herself majestically riding the giant dark wolf. Struck by a brilliant idea, the white spirit announces its intention to transform into a wolf itself. A bright whin sounds as divine light swirls around the group, beginning the spirit's magical transformation. Glowing particles dance in the air, slowly molding the golden energy into a recognizable lupine silhouette. A soft poof sounds as the light begins to condense into a much smaller, rounder shape. The magical aura fades, revealing the start of a tiny, fluffy creature emerging from the golden glow. A small, adorable white puppy with bright blue eyes appears, sticking its tongue out playfully. Chibi Sanju is instantly smitten, praising the spirit's new form as the coolest thing she's ever seen. The blonde girl happily squishes the puppy's face while the spirit admits it couldn't match the original size. The spirit questions if it can still carry her, while Sanju playfully wonders if she's too heavy. With a sudden pyong, the small wolf puppy transforms back into the floating white spirit ball. Sanju gives a deadpan look as the spirit sheepishly admits it simply needs more practice with the form. A quick tuck sounds as Sanju catches a heavy supply bag tossed to her by the party leader. A sharp whick echoes as Pant smiles warmly, telling the girl he packed plenty of supplies for her journey. Pant points toward the horizon, asking about her destination as Sanju confirms she is headed to Yuan City. The leader looks thoughtful, warning that the path ahead is rough, but Sanju remains completely unfazed. Recalling her fierce battle prowess, the blonde girl wonders what could possibly be difficult about a rough road. Chibi versions of Pant and Sanju wave a friendly goodbye under a bright, clear blue sky. The scene opens up to a breathtaking view of the lush green forest and jagged mountain peaks. A gentle swah sounds as the wind blows through the trees while the group prepares to go separate ways. Reaching out a hand, the brown-haired captain offers a final, sincere wish for Sanju to travel safely.
Sanju shakes his hand with a bright grin, telling the adventurers to be careful on their way back.
The vast landscape swallows the small figures as Seonju begins her trek toward the distant mountains.
The blonde girl pauses for a moment of quiet reflection, feeling a bit melancholy about the group's departure. Shaking off the sadness, she adjusts her hat and decides to move quickly before the sun sets. Far in the distance, a grand city with a towering white spire beckons from across the misty valley. The sun glints off the magnificent white clock tower, marking the entrance to the impressive Yuan City. Behind a stone wall, a man with messy black hair and glasses sighs in utter exhaustion from overwork. Chili resolves to finally rest today after enduring an overwhelming amount of work. An eek sounds as a woman's legs block his path, ending his escape attempt. The gray-haired woman firmly grabs Chili, asking why he is in such a hurry. She ignores his fatigue, insisting he meet an important guest who just arrived. Exasperated, Chili sighs and wonders who could possibly be visiting him at this hour. The scene shifts as a line of knights in blue uniforms stands at attention. The red-bearded commander of the Hokuin Cloud Knights greets Chili with a wide grin. Chili bluntly admits he didn't want to see him, but the commander remains jovial. Staring at the blue-eyed knight, Chili is shocked to see Urkrium Taliti in person. A dark memory shows monsters devouring humans, highlighting the brutal nature of their world. Legend says summoners from Urkrium possess terrifying and immense magical power within their ranks. Among those legendary figures stands a man possessing truly incredible and unmatched physical strength.
Chili sits on a plush sofa, questioning why such a powerful man became a knight.
A gloved hand lifts an ornate teacup as the commander prepares to explain his visit. He reveals that a dungeon containing a sought-after item has finally been discovered. Chili listens intently as the commander explains that the discoverer has gone into hiding.
Opening a chest, the commander presents a glittering pile of gold as a formal payment.
Chili stares at the treasure, his expression unreadable behind his glasses as he ponders. A firm hand lands on a closed folder, signaling that the negotiation is concluded. The commander confirms the arrangement with a sharp, expectant look toward the blue-eyed Mike.
With their business done, the commander prepares to depart, thanking Chili for his time. Chili waves goodbye with a wink, playfully telling the annoying commander not to return.
From a high window, Chili watches the group of knights march across the snowy courtyard. He sighs, wondering why the commander brought an entire entourage for such a request. Relieved the ordeal is over, he stretches and decides to flee before another task arrives. A sudden bam sounds as Chili opens the door and finds Urkrium waiting outside. Startled by the knight's unexpected presence, Chili stammers in shock, his escape plan ruined. Urkrium steps forward, noting that Chili is rumored to be an expert on all stories. Shadows fall over Urkrium's face as he prepares to ask a deeply serious question. With an intense gaze, the blue-eyed knight reveals he is searching for the Holy Scriptures. Chili stares back, clearly taken aback by the gravity and suddenness of the request. Curious about his motives, Chili asks why a man like him seeks the ancient scriptures. Urkrium clenches his gloved fist in silence, his resolve visibly hardening as he remains quiet. Chili watches the knight with a concerned expression, sensing a deep and hidden sorrow. A vision appears of a cursed disease that Urkrium is desperately hoping to finally cure. The scene shifts to the bustling and magnificent gates of the towering city. The blonde girl arrives at the gates, looking tired and disheveled from her long journey. Stepping into an inn, she exhaustedly demands a room while covered in dust and leaves. The brown-haired worker crossly refuses her entry, mistaking the dirty traveler for a lowly beggar. An argument breaks out as she explains another inn sent her, but he remains stubborn. The older inn boss arrives, questioning what is causing all the noise and commotion. The worker dismissively explains that a dirty beggar is trying to stay at their inn. A radiant aura surrounds the girl as the boss notices her true hidden beauty. Ignoring the worker's protests, the boss warmly asks if she has money for a room. He scolds the worker while the blonde girl flashes a smug, mocking grin in victory. Fuming with rage, the worker snaps his tool in half, cursing the unlucky little bride. A heavy slap sounds as he slams a wet mop onto the floor in frustration. He continues his chores while lamenting his shabby life and the unfairness of the situation. A sudden call stops him in his tracks as he sighs and turns around irritably. Looking over his shoulder with a weary gaze, he wonders what else someone could want. Now cleaned and refreshed, Seonju stretches in a room filled with shimmering light. Sitting comfortably in a wooden chair, the blonde girl bluntly demands food while glowing. The brown-haired worker is utterly shocked, while Sunju smugly identifies herself as the beggar. Seonju notes his job would be at risk elsewhere while he remains completely speechless. Reflecting on her treatment, Senji remarks that he should be glad star ratings don't exist. A loud quang sounds as a man slams his barrel, cursing the Cloud Knights. Patrons complain that the knights are ruining their livelihood, leaving them to starve in silence. They discuss a summoned aide named Teledi who supposedly abandoned the knights in a huff. Senju listens closely, recalling Teledi's unwavering loyalty to the red-bearded knight commander. Patrons continue their loud complaints as Senju is informed her meal has finally arrived.
The part-timer serves the meal, but Sanju remains suspicious of his strange and hesitant behavior.
The worker's romanticized vision of a beautiful girl contrasts sharply with Sanju's actual annoyed face. A quick siang sounds as the worker yells to enjoy the meal and bolts away.
Seonju coughs while eating her meal, clearly unimpressed by the inn's chaotic and odd service.
While patrons praise the delicious fries, Seonju grumbles about the uselessness of the strange part-timer. As night falls over the city, Sanju finishes her meal and decides to finally sleep. A cheerful chirp echoes as morning sunlight hits the desk covered in old books. Chili rests with a book on his head as someone outside protests an uninvited visit. A loud quack echoes as Sanju kicks the door open, startling the exhausted director Chili.
Chili sarcastically praises her spectacular entrance as the blonde girl stares him down with intensity.
Chili offers coffee or tea, but Senju demands beer as she approaches his ornate desk. A sudden pyong sounds as a bottle is uncorked, sending bubbles and sparkles flying everywhere. Chibi Seonju lets out a satisfied ah after drinking, feeling refreshed alongside her floating spirit. Sitting across from her, Chili mentions he heard about her arrival from the local verse. Chili drinks his coffee while discussing how the role of healers is quite an interesting topic.
A flashback reveals that healers are widely believed to determine the success of any dungeon raid.
Chili acknowledges her importance, but Sunju remains focused and expectant of his next words.
He bluntly states her level is far too low for raids, causing her immense visible shock.
Chili suggests that leveling up will increase her value, asking for her opinion on the matter. Seonju seriously agrees to form a contract while holding her tea with a determined gaze. Chili offers to do anything within his power as he adjusts his glasses with a grin.
A sudden pause takes Chili by surprise when Senju asks for help finding the scriptures.
Chili looks bewildered, questioning if the blonde girl even knows what the ancient scriptures are. He quickly forces a nervous laugh, claiming he is well aware of the item she seeks. Chili ponders the strange connection between Seonju and the Knight Commander seeking the same scriptures. A soft suk-suk sounds as Seonju begins writing down necessary details on a document. With a bright and confident grin, Sunju tells the director that she'll be in his care.
Chili smiles back warmly, assuring her that the pleasure of their arrangement is entirely his.
The two seal their new partnership with a firm, glowing handshake in the center of the room.
The scene shifts to the afternoon exterior of the Grand Inn within the bustling city.
Back at the inn, the worker tosses a heavy supply bag onto the counter for Senju.
Senju stretches and announces her plan for a month-long stay, leaving the worker completely baffled.
She turns away, loftily declaring that a place like this should thrive under her presence.
The worker wonders if she is actually kind-hearted before questioning her sudden and strange behavior.
Sunju looks back with an irritated glare, sharply demanding that she be served her breakfast. The part-timer quickly reconsiders his kind-hearted assessment as he stares at her demanding, grumpy face.
The majestic white clock tower of Yuan City stands tall against the clear blue morning sky.
In his office, Chili mentions he has a suspicion about where the holy scriptures are located. A sudden boryak sounds as Sunju shouts in frustration, asking why he cannot tell her now. A sharp talk sounds as Chili closes his green book, preparing to explain his cautious reasoning. A speech bubble warns that the current level is too low for the objective. Director Chili looks startled while clutching a folder, reacting to the girl's ambitious request. A bubble emphasizes Seonju's rarity as the world's only healer, urging her survival.
The blonde girl listens as Chili warns about the potential losses to their company.
Sitting comfortably, Chili tells Senju to focus on raising her level for now. Chili envisions two potential mentors, including an orange-haired woman, to help Seonju train. Adjusting his glasses, Chili grins while planning to push his new resources to their limits. Sunju looks skeptical and unimpressed, questioning why she must undergo such intensive training. She asks why Chili isn't training her himself despite his promises of full support. Chili laughs heartily, admitting that personally training her would simply be far too bothersome. Sunju stares back with a deadpan expression, frustrated by the director's blatant laziness. She bluntly demands to know if he intends to help her or not. A sudden chime sounds at the inn while Sunju wonders how she will learn. A sudden hello interrupts her meal, catching the blonde girl completely off guard. The orange-haired Anna Piper introduces herself as Sunju's new instructor assigned by Chili. Documents reveal Anna's unconventional background in medical school and gaming as a healer. Sunju reads through Anna's resume with growing disbelief and a very judgmental gaze. Anna Piper cheerfully boasts about being a master healer in games back on Earth. Horrified, Sunju clutches the papers as she realizes her trainer's experience is entirely virtual. She stares at Anna, wondering if this woman can truly provide any real help. Anna explains that training a healer is fundamentally different from typical combat classes. The orange-haired woman reveals she is also from America on Earth, surprising Sunju. Sunju listens as Anna explains how their shared otherworldly experiences will be beneficial. Anna Piper confidently promises that her unique perspective will help the blonde girl. Looking into Anna's green eyes, Seonju realizes that her new instructor is surprisingly serious. The scene shifts to the exterior of the Grand Inn under the bright afternoon sun. A chibi Anna thanks Seonju, who responds with a flat, very skeptical expression. Senju asks Anna if she is truly serious about their current training methods. A sign announces Sunju as a miracle healer providing free volunteer services at Han's Inn. Anna Piper cheerfully calls for the next patient, ignoring Sunju's confusion about this clinic. Sunju questions how giving away free medical care helps her train and level up. Anna explains that healing builds experience and divine power through the patient's faith. Sunju lets out a loud gya after realizing Anna opened the clinic without asking. She pauses, reflecting on her urgent need to level up and Anna's logic. Anna Piper smiles warmly, insisting she is teaching in her own unique way. Sunju looks thoughtful as the true purpose behind Anna's efficient training method becomes clear. A sharp pang sounds as Anna claps, urging Sunju to focus on the patients. The orange-haired instructor asks a patient where it hurts, directing Senju to act. Sunju begins healing a patient, acknowledging that Anna's bizarre method is actually working. A sudden ding sounds as a system notification confirms she is gaining experience. System windows confirm that healing the sick provides experience and builds people's trust. A notification announces that a devout believer has formed, strengthening Sunju's divine power. The system confirms Senju has successfully gained divine power through her charitable actions. A mother and son thank Sunju, reinforcing the connection between faith and levels.
Sanju sits among glowing screens, finally satisfied with her rapid progress under Anna's guidance.
Sunset falls over the city, concluding a productive day of work at the inn.
A sudden quang sounds as a man bursts in, shouting for a healer's help.
Anna Piper firmly tells the panicked intruder to wait his turn in line. The man frantically apologizes, explaining that he is dealing with a severe emergency. He reveals a bloodied man on his back, bringing a grim reality to the clinic. Sunju clutches her chest in sudden, visible shock as her heart begins to throb painfully. Anna Piper stares in wide-eyed realization, recognizing the importance of the person lying before them. Anna Piper urgently demands that Seonju save the dying man, and the blonde girl determinedly agrees. Despite the physical strain, Sunju refuses to let any life slip away before her eyes. Sunju calls out to her instructor while keeping her head bowed in deep, focused thought. Sunju prepares for the task ahead, curtly ordering Anna Piper to close the door behind them. With a stern and focused expression, Sunju announces that she will see no more patients today. A lone patient sits in the empty space, wondering if his treatment is finally over. The narrative shifts to describe a dark, ominous dungeon located just outside of Ewell City. The brown-haired survivor admits to Anna Piper that they underestimated the danger within the dungeon. He tearfully explains that the dungeon's final boss proved to be an insurmountable, lethal challenge. A terrifying beast covered in sharp, metallic blades appears as the source of their nightmare. The hunters were forced into a desperate retreat, unable to even wound the bladed monster.
Mr. Reichender stood his ground with his sword, sacrificing himself to save his overconfident party members.
Overwhelmed by guilt, the survivor laments his own reckless decisions that led to this tragedy. He breaks down in tears, fully blaming himself for the dire fate of his brave companion. A sudden, sharp tuck sounds as Anna Piper places a comforting hand on the man's shoulder. Anna Piper offers a warm, encouraging smile, assuring the man of his own inherent goodness. Mr. Reichender lies motionless on the bed, his neck stained with blood from his severe wounds. Brilliant, holy light emanates from a hand as it begins the miraculous process of healing. Senju reflects on a past life where the suffering of others meant absolutely nothing to her. Looking inward, Senju feels a deep sense of revulsion toward her former cold-hearted nature. Despite her growth, she still struggles to comprehend the depths of her own changing heart. This new, driving need to save others feels almost like an inescapable and heavy obsession. Sunju remains pensive while a grand, celestial vision looms behind her in the shadows. The cheerful blue spirit begins to explain the hidden truth behind Sunju's mysterious transformation. Sunju looks at the spirit in confusion, waiting for it to finish its surprising explanation. The spirit reveals that crossing worlds granted Sunju the sanctified and powerful body of an angel. Sunju fumes at the discovery that her body was replaced without her consent or knowledge. The little blue spirit hesitates, unable to provide a satisfying answer to Sunju's angry questioning. A memory flashes by of an angelic figure weeping in despair amidst a cold downcourt. Sunju looks thoughtful, resolving to find the purpose behind her new form and the path ahead. Mr. Reichender rests peacefully, his life fully restored by Senju's incredible display of holy power. The physical toll of the miracle is evident on Senju's blood-stained and trembling hand. Sunju gazes at the man, realizing she successfully defied death through her own sheer will. The blue spirit asks Seonju how she feels now that she has embraced her role. A faint, satisfied smile plays on Sunju's lips as she contemplates her impactful, life-saving actions. Sunju stands alone in the room, the morning light reflecting her quiet sense of accomplishment. The survivor stares in disbelief, witnessing the undeniable success of the impossible medical miracle. Mr. Reichender beams with gratitude, his kind-hearted nature shining through his healthy, restored face. The two friends share a joyous embrace after Mr. Reichender's truly miraculous overnight recovery. As the friends celebrate, news of the miraculous healer begins to spread rapidly through the city. A series of cheerful ding sounds echo as notifications confirm a massive surge in public faith.
The chimes of success continue as more and more believers place their absolute trust in her.
Seonju marvels at her massive experience gain, realizing her reputation has officially gone viral. Her excitement quickly turns to annoyance as a new wave of uninvited visitors arrives.
A group of desperate hunters pleads for even a tiny fragment of her divine blessing.
Members of the medical association barge in, frantically begging for a share of her holy influence. A stern, high-ranking official from the church arrives to deliver a serious and direct message. A heavy boom sounds as the bald priest demands Seonju serve the church's interests. A system window identifies the bald man as Cardinal Cuddleborn from New Heaven's Grace Church. The cardinal invites Seonju to seek salvation with the church, leaving the blonde girl shocked. Anna Piper's internal alarms flare as she detects an immediate crisis from the church's arrival. A gloved hand suddenly muzzles the blonde girl before her blunt rejection causes a scene. Seonju fumes about credit-stealing cults while Anna struggles to keep her silent before the cardinal. Anna Piper smoothly blocks the recruitment, claiming Seonju is already bound by a prior contract. The scene shifts to the grand and majestic white cathedral of the New Heaven's Grace Church.
Back at the cathedral, the bald priest nervously reports the healer's blunt and disrespectful response.
He stands in a sunlit courtyard, reporting to a mysterious hooded figure seated at a table. A blonde woman in a white hood smiles with calm intrigue while listening to the report.
Saint Celaya of New Heaven's Grace Church is revealed, possessing a divine and ethereal beauty.
The cardinal explains that the miracle healer has ultimately refused to join their religious order. A document shows Seonju's disgruntled profile, serving as the church's primary interest for the day. Saint Celaya examines the records, gracefully accepting the healer's rejection as a minor setback. The priest looks on in confused silence as the saint remains unbothered by the news. Saint Celaya decides to monitor the healer's progress from afar, praising the priest's efforts.
With a polite dismissal, the bald priest bows deeply before retreating from the courtyard Jouten.
Left alone, Saint Celaya blushes while finding Seonju's rebellious nature and photos surprisingly cute.
A dark-haired warrior in heavy armor walks away as Celaya plots to keep the healer.
The formidable man looks ahead with a grim expression, embodying the church's underlying military strength. The narrative returns to the Grand Tower headquarters of the Chile Barbecue Association.
The gray-haired assistant informs Chili that the knight, Talidity, was not the person suffering from disease.
Chili listens intently as he learns that Tality has a younger sibling with a mysterious mark. A dark-haired girl lies unconscious in a hospital ward, the true source of Tality's desperation.
The purple-eyed assistant waits for further orders while holding her book for the director's review.
Chili reclines in his ornate chair, reflecting on the heavy burden the desperate knight carried.
Adjusting his glasses, the director senses that a critical piece of the puzzle is still missing.
The two discuss the peculiar details of the situation within the lavishly decorated command office.
A vision appears of an ancient, glowing scripture, a forgotten relic that should have remained lost.
Chili questions how a simple knight could have known to search for such a rare artifact. He doubts Tality's individual capability to find the relic, suspecting a hidden, well-informed source. The director's gaze becomes sharp and analytical as he deduces a definite outside influence. A shadowy figure is shown whispering to the knight, suggesting Talidity is being manipulated. Chili turns back toward his assistant, his mind already spinning a new plan for Seonju. He decides it is time to introduce Seonju to her second master, ordering Anna's notification. Chili pauses his assistant to deliver a final, serious warning regarding the blonde girl's lessons.
He insists that Seonju must be kept far away from Tality until her training is complete.
Pushing up his glasses, Chili grins while anticipating the chaos if the two were to meet.
Seonju stands on a train bound for Claretta Mountain, her expression full of visible annoyance. Tality stands in the same train car, his dark eyes focused on the snowy journey ahead. The two encounter each other in a narrow train corridor, leading to an immediate standoff. A quick bump sounds as they collide, the tall man looking down at the small girl. Wrestling sounds echo as they jostle for space, neither willing to yield the path.
Seonju glares up at the knight, her face flushed with anger as she barks a demand.
Anna Piper peeks over a seat, her eyes wide with shock at the sudden forbidden encounter. Her internal alarms flare as she realizes the director's warning about the two meeting was accurate. Anna Piper suddenly lunges, grabbing Seonju and clumsily trying to distract the knight from the blonde. Anna Piper laughs nervously while pinning Seonju down, trying to de-escalate the situation with Tality.
She waves cheerfully as she drags the fuming blonde away, wishing the knight a safe trip.
Tality stands alone in the corridor, looking completely baffled by the orange-haired woman's bizarre behavior. Anna Piper grips Seonju, preventing a scene in the train's narrow corridor. A heavy steam train chugs majestically through a vibrant, sunlit mountain valley. Anna presents Seonju with new documents, sparking the blonde girl's curiosity.
The discussion focuses on the necessity of official identification for active hunters.
Sanju examines her heart rank hunter certificate and summoner's identification with great interest. Sanju feels a surge of confidence, realizing she can finally challenge powerful mages.
Anna reveals their destination involves meeting Sunju's second master for advanced training.
Sanju reflects on her past clinic work while Anna shares a lighthearted laugh.
Anna explains the expedited schedule, having taught Sanju everything she possibly could.
Curious about her future mentor, Sanju asks what kind of person they are.
Anna warns that the second master is in an entirely different league altogether. Sanju is impressed to learn her next teacher is considered a living legend.
Anna prepares to delve into the complex details of the hunter ranking system.
A graphic explains the hunter ranks, showing Sanju at the lowest heart level.
Anna clarifies that unique exceptions exist beyond the standard categories of the rankings.
A muscular warrior surrounded by intense flames represents the legendary demon rank. Anna explains the unofficial title given to those with truly exceptional, unique skills.
Sanju expresses doubt that such a high-level master would ever accept her.
Anna admits the director barely managed to convince the master to take her. Anxiety clouds Sanju's thoughts as she fears the master might suddenly refuse her.
A blue system window identifies the jagged peaks ahead as Clareda Mountain.
A gruff, unseen voice demands to know who has dared to barge in.
Master Torch, a bald and bearded man, orders them off his property immediately.
Anna finds Torch's hostile reception to be exactly what she had expected beforehand.
Respectfully, Anna greets the retired demon rank hunter at his humble mountain home.
Torch remains cold and stubborn, flatly ordering the uninvited visitors to leave now.
Anna produces a sealed envelope explaining it is a direct message from Chile.
Torch looks skeptical as Anna offers him the letter from the guild's director. Anna mocks the director's lazy habits, earning a quick poof of laughter from Sanju.
Sanju looks on in shock as Anna confirms the director's true, informal nature.
With a sharp look, Master Torch unfolds the letter to examine its contents.
The master remains silent while reading, his face a mask of intense concentration.
Torch's eyes widen as he absorbs the surprising information contained within the note.
After finishing the letter, Torch asks if Sanju is the student he requested. A dialogue bubble introduces Sanju as the one chosen for the master's tutelage. Sanju stands ready to begin her year-long apprenticeship under the legendary Master Tosh. Having completed her duty, Anna Piper waves a cheerful bye-bye as she departs.
Master Torch wastes no time, beginning an immediate assessment of Sanju's physical fitness.
Sanju collapses into the dirt, panting heavily from the master's initial physical test.
Torch stands deep in thought, leaving Sanju worried about his grim, judging expression.
The jagged peaks of Clareda Mountain glow orange under the fading evening sunlight. The real training officially begins as Sanju prepares to carry her heavy gear.
Master Torch holds a small, faceted red stone in the palm of his hand.
Sanju questions the task, wondering if her training truly involves a colored stone.
Torch points toward the distant, towering summit of Team Trin's peak for reference.
Sanju assumes the challenge is to climb the peak and return the stone daily. Master Torch flatly denies her assumption, pointing his finger in a completely different direction.
A system window identifies the even more formidable Team Grun's peak on the horizon.
Horrified realization washes over Sanju as she finally understands the master's extreme demands.
Torch adds a final detail, leaving Sanju stunned as her grueling new life begins. Master Torch points toward the final peak Sanju must reach by noonday.
Sanju looks suspicious as Master Torch begins preparing another unpleasant surprise for her.
Torch tosses a massive cloud of dust toward the startled girl to reveal her equipment.
A heavy, segmented iron weight crashes into the dirt, creating a deep impact crater.
Master Torch orders Sanju to wear the massive weight for the entire next year.
Sanju stands frozen in shock as the ground literally caves in beneath the weight.
Master Torch explains that every morning will be dedicated to grueling basic physical training.
Sanju runs with the heavy weight around her ankle, questioning the master's extreme standards. Master Torch informs her that all future meals are handled in survivalist hunter style.
A chibi-style graphic shows Sanju being chased while trying to hunt an edible monster.
Torch remains blunt, stating he will judge the catch's edibility after she returns. Sanju fumes as she realizes the master expects her to handle all the cooking.
The scene shifts to Torch's rustic mountain workshop, indicating a scheduled change in training.
Master Torch explains that Sanju will eventually learn to handle a wide variety of weapons.
Master Torch stares in judgmental silence as Sanju awkwardly swings a heavy, spiked mace. Torch advises her to ditch the blunt weapon, much to the blonde girl's confusion. Sanju indignantly questions why she should throw away her precious shining rod so easily. Master Torch looks completely unimpressed as Sanju reveals she actually gave her weapon a name. Torch explains that holy power is fundamentally incompatible with most bladed weapon types. Master Torch adds that the girl lacks the raw physical strength to use heavy weapons.
Master Torch clarifies that blunt weapons require immense force to be used effectively.
Visibly frustrated, Seonju demands to know which weapon she is actually supposed to use.
Master Torch opens the doors to his massive armory, revealing a vast collection of gear. Sunju stands in awe as Torch explains he personally collected these items over time. The blonde girl examines a rapier, noting the sheer quantity of expensive equipment available.
Master Torch grants her full access to his entire arsenal for the next year.
Torch instructs her to try everything until she eventually crafts a weapon of her own.
Master Torch wants her to find the one weapon that maximizes her unique strengths. Sunju is shocked to learn the master won't just give her a finished weapon.
An open book titled The Skull sits on a table displaying a medical diagram.
Sunju sits at a desk tasked with filling her knowledge gaps about the world. Master Torch drops another book on the table, ordering the girl to start reading.
Sunju questions why she is being given a cookbook, earning a sarcastic, blunt reply. Torch insults her cooking, telling the fuming girl she needs to improve her skills. The narrative shifts to a distant, majestic blue-roofed castle under a starry night sky. A red-skinned demon recounts a meeting with an angel while seated in a grand hall. A hand sets down a decorative teacup, the term angel lingering in the air. Ancient demon Delia Reticle, with blue horns and pointed ears, smiles with nostalgic amusement. A sudden, sharp crack sounds as the ancient demon reacts to the surprising news. The red-skinned demon asks if she is troubled, but Delia dismisses his concern. Delia admits she is merely excited at the thought of seeing an angel again. A human maid approaches silently, carrying a tray with a fresh cup of tea. The red-skinned demon questions the presence of human attendants in the demon realm. Delia clarifies that these humans are loyal followers who trust her leadership. The red-skinned demon narrows his eyes, sensing a deeper shift in their changing world. He questions why they are now feared as demons instead of living freely.
Delia gazes ahead with glowing red eyes, reflecting on their long and lost history.
A vision shows the back of a winged warrior, signaling the end of an era.
The red-skinned demon notes that 5,000 long years have passed since that time.
Delia Reticule agrees, acknowledging the many changes that have occurred over the long centuries.
Under a starry night sky, a majestic castle with bright blue roofs stands tall. In the demon realm, the red-skinned demon discusses his old friend Shakrush's ancient feel.
The red-skinned demon explains that Shakrush recently managed to break free from his prison.
Delia Reticle clasps her hands, finding the news of a demon's awakening quite welcome. Sternly, the red-skinned demon reveals he personally killed Shakrush following the escape.
Delia Reticule listens as he explains Shakrush lost his qualification to be a demon.
The red-skinned demon declares that a demon who loses control is a total disgrace. Delia Reticule looks down thoughtfully, agreeing that the turn of events is certainly a shame. Delia Reticule reflects on the tragedy of a demon awakening only to die immediately after. Back at the mountain, Sanju addresses Master Torch while standing among the jagged peaks. Master Torch confirms that divine power is indeed incompatible with most bladed weapon types.
Seonju realizes why her master previously ordered her to discard her beloved blunt mace.
Straining with effort, Senju clenches her teeth as the pressure of the training increases. 20 days into her grueling hunter training, Sanju struggles with a massive black sword. Sanju questions why she must use a giant sword that clearly doesn't suit her. Seonju can't even lift the blade, but Torch insists there is a specific reason. A graphic illustrates the various weapons a hunter must master to gain true combat experience.
Master Torch explains that hunters must handle many weapons, unlike specialized martial artists. Torch emphasizes that versatility allows a hunter to make optimal decisions during any crisis.
Sternly, Master Torch orders the fuming girl to stop whining and get into position. Seonju shouts aloud "Hya" while desperately trying to lift the heavy black blade. A central dialogue bubble emphasizes that his previous instructions remain unchanged despite her complaints.
Master Torch crosses his arms, sensing something is definitely wrong with the girl's progress.
Sanju runs across the dirt in a simple, determined style during her daily exercise. Shaking with fatigue, Senju pushes through a set of difficult push-ups on the ground. Master Torch reflects on their intense focus on building up her physical strength and endurance. Torch wonders why Sanju cannot utilize any of the strength they have worked to build. Narrowing his eyes, Master Torch examines the girl's behavior, suspecting a deeper underlying cause. A system notification questions if her stagnation is actually a trait of her specific species. A vision of a winged warrior appears, representing the hidden nature of Seonju's ancestral line. Reaching down, Master Torch picks up a small, jagged stone from the Rocky Mountain path. A sudden whack sounds as Torch hurls the stone directly at the startled girl's face. Sunju indignantly yells, asking if her master is actually trying to kill her with rocks. Master Torch stands calmly, deciding that he must change his training method for her. From a wide view of the mountains, Torch admits he doesn't fully understand the situation. A dialogue bubble notes that all this training hasn't increased her raw physical strengths. Master Torch points out that she has only become more agile, much to her confusion. Torch explains that her unique constitution is what keeps her physical strength from growing further. Under the bright sun, Torch tells Senju she must learn to use her unique constitution. Master Torch identifies her wings as a unique strength, prompting Seonju's curiosity about their use. Holding a stone, Master Torch honestly admits he has never flown and cannot teach it. Master Torch clarifies his limitations, stating he cannot teach her the mechanics of flight directly. However, Torch remains confident he can train her until she can fully utilize her wings. Senju unfurls her massive white wings, ready to begin the Master's new dodging exercise. With an intense, glowing gaze, Master Torch prepares to hurl a stone with incredible speed. Senju's eyes widen in shock as Torch performs an unexpected, deceptive movement during his throw. A sharp ack escapes Senju as the stone strikes her forehead with a quick snap. Rubbing her head, Senju fumes at the unfairness, while Torche tells her to be grateful. Master Torch bluntly asks if she thinks real enemies will only throw predictable attacks. Senju stands stunned, finally beginning to understand the harsh reality of her master's combat lessons.
Master Torch warns that real enemies will strike with varied weapons from any direction.
Seonju stands silently, rubbing her head while reflecting on the unpredictability of combat. Tossing a stone, Master Torch sternly orders his blonde student to stay focused. Determined to succeed, Seonju resolves to give her absolute all to the training. Under the vast night sky, her resolve echoes through the quiet, shimmering clouds. The grueling mountain training continues as time passes beneath the endless starry canopy. A heavy black weight remains strapped to Senju's ankle, a constant physical burden. Exhausted and panting, Seonju pushes her limits while running across the rugged peaks. Sweat pours down her face as she maintains her focus despite the mounting fatigue. A hand hurls a red stone, signaling another round of the master's dodging exercise. The red stone bounces down a rocky slope, following a sharp and precise trajectory. Wiping her brow, Senju marks 21 grueling days of her intensive hunter training. Just as she announces her return, a massive impact shatters the ground before her. Struck down by the surprise attack, Senju growls in frustration at the master's methods. Juggling stones, Master Torch notes that she is finally beginning to look the part. Master Torch instructs her to pack up as they prepare to head down for food. Looking back over his shoulder, Master Torch casually announces that it is time for vacation. Seonju is left confused, questioning what the master means by this sudden change. Straining with effort, Senju is forced to carry a massive, mountain-sized brown travel pack. Sanju yells in outrage, realizing this vacation involves more manual labor than actual rest. Master Torch plugs his ears, complaining about the girl's noisy complaints as they walk. Torch clarifies that he meant his own vacation, leaving the girl completely stunned. Fuming with rage, the girl grips her pack straps while her small companion floats nearby.
A majestic village built into the mountain peaks glows under the warm evening sun. A system notification identifies their new destination as Canaltown in the region of Wolfham.
Bright and sparkling streets reveal a well-maintained town filled with stone buildings and lanterns. The serene atmosphere of the town features empty benches and clean cobblestone pathways. Lugging the heavy pack, Seonju listens as Torch describes the town's bustling, interactive nature. They walk through the lively town center where merchants and travelers go about their business. A wide view shows citizens gathered around a central fountain in the heart of town. Sparkles fill Senju's eyes as she admires the calming beauty of the picturesque mountain village. Master Torch insults her messy appearance, prompting an indignant scream from the disheveled girl. The master notes they will wash up once they reach the inn at sunset. Two men at the entrance greet Master Torch with enthusiastic and respectful welcomes. A group of happy children cheers loudly for the arrival of Grandpa the Hunter. Surrounded by sparkles and flowers, Master Torch beams with a surprisingly warm and joyful smile.
Senju watches the master's friendly transformation with a dark, suspicious, and highly annoyed expression.
Sharp vertical lines signal a sudden shift in the atmosphere within the cozy tavern. Senju wonders if this popular man is truly the same cranky master she knows. The sun sets behind the sturdy wooden structure of the bustling Wolfham Inn. A system notification introduces Keimtils, the bespectacled and goateed innkeeper of the establishment. Master Torch greets his old friend with a blunt insult about his unchanging ugliness. Keimtils notices the girl lugging the massive bag and asks who is following behind. Master Torch proudly introduces Sanju as his disciple, leaving the innkeeper visibly shocked. Keimtils grabs Seonju's hands in sympathy, assuming she must be suffering under the master. The two old men bicker loudly while Sanju stands back, observing their comedic dynamic. Seonju laughs with relief, happy to find someone who recognizes the truth about her master. She watches the two men with a soft smile as they continue their loud banter. A system notification introduces Millie, a smiling in-staff member with long brown hair. Millie greets the blonde girl, eager to hear more about her life as Torch's disciple. Millie expresses amazement at Sunju's incredible accomplishments at such a remarkably young age. Looking completely drained, Sunju admits she never actually wanted to experience such grueling training. Millie stares at the exhausted blonde girl with a silent and deeply concerned expression. Noticing Seonju's disheveled state, Millie kindly suggests that she go and wash up.
A crescent moon shines brightly amidst the soft clouds of a peaceful evening sky.
Fresh towels and restorative supplies wait in a wooden crate for the tired trainee. Senju enjoys a tranquil soak in the outdoor hot spring nestled against the mountainside. Relaxing deeply, Sunju feels all her built-up fatigue finally beginning to melt away. The small blue spirit floats nearby, questioning why her divine powers haven't already healed her. Senju turns her head sharply toward her floating companion as the conversation continues.
The two bicker playfully about the spirit's nature and the mysterious mechanics of her powers.
Closing her eyes, the blonde girl prepares to bring up another pressing concern.
Sunju sighs as she realizes she is still wearing the heavy training weight while bathing.
The lights of the sturdy Wolfham Inn glow warmly against the dark mountain backdrop.
After her bath, Sunju enters the hallway while drying her long hair with a towel. She pauses in surprise upon discovering a wooden crate filled with various potions and fruits.
Millie calls out from down the hall, confirming the supplies were intended for their stay.
Sunju fumes, realizing that buying extra supplies might actually shorten her precious vacation time.
Despite her inner frustration, Senju awkwardly thanks the innkeeper as Millie looks on curiously.
Sunju descends the grand wooden staircase into the bustling atmosphere of the tavern below.
A familiar voice barks out, demanding to know if she planned to stay in the bath forever. Master Torch sits at the bar with a stranger, immediately scolding Sunju for her lateness. Sunju pouts and protests, arguing that she deserves at least one long, uninterrupted bath. Ignoring her complaints, Master Torch sternly orders his disciple to show some respect and say hello.
A system notification introduces Tinkor, the distinguished pioneer of the vital Colstyx River Canal. Sunset bathes the opulent estate of Tinkor, the most powerful tycoon in all of Wolfham.
A lavish spread of sliced meat, fresh bread, and fruit sits ready for the hungry travelers.
Sunju stares with wide eyes and a watering mouth as Tinkor offers them a feast.
Master Torch maintains a sharp and skeptical gaze, unmoved by the tycoon's apparent generosity. Looking over the table, Torch bluntly asks the confused host what his true intentions are.
Master Torch crosses his arms, firmly stating that nothing in this world ever comes for free. Tinker chuckles nervously as the master demands that he stop wasting time and get to the point. The tycoon leans in close, his expression turning serious as he prepares to reveal the truth.
While Senju happily stuffs her face with bread, Tinkor admits he has an urgent request. Tinkor closes his eyes solemnly, reflecting on the weight of the task he is about to propose.
A central dialogue bubble notes that it has been quite a long time since hearing that specific name. A vision reveals the Colstyx Canal, the primary driving force behind the prosperity of Wolfham Village. Long ago, before the development of the canal, the Colstyx River was a very different place. In the past, the river was nothing more than a dangerous habitat for countless vicious monsters.
Facing the village's ruin, a younger Tinkor resolved to drive out the monsters and build a canal.
The villagers looked on with doubt, believing that building a canal was a completely nonsensical plan.
Tinkor's life changed forever during a fateful exploration into the dark depths of a river cave.
Deep within the cavern, Tinkor successfully awakened a legendary creature known as the Riverette Shark. Among all the formidable monsters ever seen in the river, this creature stood above the rest. The massive shark possessed overwhelming strength, but fortunately, chose never to attack any humans. The great shark easily repelled any other monsters that dared to approach the village's waters. Within just 1 month of the shark's awakening, peace finally returned to the monster-infested river. Back in the present, Tinkor explains that the Riverette Shark made the canal's development possible.
Master Torch questions why Tinkor would ever ask him to hunt such a beneficial protector.
A massive stack of documents slams onto the table, leaving Senju and Torch completely stunned.
Tinkor presents a thick stack of documents identifying them as a recent damage report.
Tinkor confirms the Riverette Shark is the monster responsible for all the recent devastation. Sunju reacts in disbelief to the massive amount of damage caused in a week.
Master Torch grimly notes that the canal's guardian beast is now attacking the people.
Master Torch asks why the tycoon specifically chose him for this dangerous task. Master Torch questions why Tinkor didn't hire an official guild for the monster extermination.
Tinkor admits that submitting an official request would be complicated and awkward for him.
Tinkor reveals the Hunter Association was the primary opponent of his canal project. Master Torch remains stoic, claiming he had already suspected there were political complications involved. Tinkor is surprised by his knowledge, but the Master notes the shark's true nature. Master Torch explains that it was always inevitable for such a creature to attack. A metaphoric ticking time bomb represents the constant danger of living beside the shark. Tinkor explains the Hunter Association foresaw the danger of the creature turning violent. Sunju realizes that asking the association for help now would be a humiliating admission.
Admitting the association was right all along is a step Tinkor refuses to take.
Tinkor sits in silence as the weight of the situation settles in the room.
Master Torch warns that removing the shark would create a completely different ecological problem.
Without the dominant predator ruling the river, the local balance of power will shift. A vision shows the dead shark, slain and bloodied by numerous human weapons. A horde of various monsters prepares to return once their natural deterrent is gone. Seonju contemplates the impossible dilemma between the shark's attacks and a monster invasion. Tinkor grips his hands tightly, reflecting on the life's work he is trying to save. Tinkor stands firm, refusing to regret the choices he made to build the canal. Tinkor's primary motivation is revealed as a deep desire to prevent further villager suffering. The tycoon looks on with a determined expression, hoping for the master's help.
Master Torch listens intently while Senju watches the conversation from a distance.
Sunju looks down thoughtfully, processing the gravity of the tycoon's urgent request. The sun sets over the sturdy wooden architecture of the peaceful Wolfram End. A quick click sounds as a hand turns the knob to enter the room. Entering the room, Senju asks why the master decided to accept the difficult request. Master Torch reveals there is a way to solve the problem beyond simple killing. Torch explains a ritual can turn the shark's spirit into a protective barrier. Seonju is shocked to hear the barrier will only last for one single year. Senju realizes that the master's proposed plan is merely a temporary solution. Master Torch stares out the window at the orange glow of the setting sun. Torch asks Seonju if she understands his original motivation for becoming a hunter. The master remains silent for a moment, letting the heavy question hang in the air. Senju jokingly guesses that he became a hunter just to beat up monsters for fun. Master Torch gives her a physical reprimand, leaving the girl whimpering from a head bump. Master Torch simply states that his true purpose as a hunter is to protect. The master reflects on the importance of maintaining peaceful villages for common people. Visions of happy citizens remind them of the lives they are working to preserve. Master Torch warns Seonju that protection often requires making very unpleasant and difficult choices. He emphasizes that being a hunter means seeing every accepted request through to completion. Master Torch maintains a stern and serious profile as he continues his lecture. The master intends to see exactly how much Sunju has grown during her training. Sunju listens with a worried expression, sensing the upcoming challenge will be intense. Master Torch warns about the extreme lethality of hunting aquatic monsters in their habitat. Sunju studies a drawing of the shark, pondering a strategy to avoid the motor. Torch dismisses her questions about gear, leaving her to solve the logistics alone. Master Torch turns his head, casually mentioning he is leaving to visit an old friend. Seonju stares at the documents with frustration, panicking over the lack of prepared hunting equipment. The blue spirit suggests using fists, but the blonde girl retorts that it isn't its problem. Contemplating her strategy, Sunju decides that a spear is the ideal weapon for catching fish. Sun shines through the window as she resolves to craft a custom harpoon herself. A soft whittling sound, sharak, sharak, echoes as she carves wooden sticks on the floor. Millie watches skeptically as the trainee claims the giant toothpicks are actually functional spears. Seonju brags about her past artistic nickname while Millie remains doubtful of her crafting skills. Wiping sweat from her brow, she exhales a tired pew after finishing her work. Sunju sulks, thinking she should quit spear throwing due to the excessive amount of preparation. She imagines the convenience of archery while struggling to carry her bundle of wooden sticks. Despite their appearance, Seonju justifies using the sticks because of their overwhelming portability and convenience. Torch enters the room and asks if his disciple is finally done with her preparations. Standing together in the room, Torch bluntly asks why she's carrying a pile of trash. Master Torch mocks the spear, while Senju insists it is actually quite sturdy and effective. Torch warns her that failing and dying during the hunt is her own responsibility. Torch yells for her to move, leaving Sanju fuming about whether to respect her elder. A steady tapping sound, jabyuk, follows the pair as they descend the stairs. Torch informs Millie that they are heading to the Coalsticks Canal for a new request. Millie looks on in surprise, believing that Master Torch had long ago retired from hunting. Master Torch clarifies that the hunt belongs to Sunju while he handles other business. Millie looks worried, noting that the High Priest seems far too frail for a hunt. A sharp glaring sound, Jarrett, sounds as Sunju reacts to being called scrawny and weak.
Millie asks to join them, mentioning she has her own business near the canal too.
Torsh orders the little brat to help Millie carry her bags before they leave.
A quick thud, tuk, sounds as Seonju takes the bag despite Millie's polite hesitation.
Millie smiles brightly, asking if she can watch the upcoming monster hunt at the canal.
A central dialogue bubble confirms that Millie can watch since the operation won't be dangerous. The master and his disciple stand together, bathed in the bright light of the doorway. The scene shifts to the bright, sparkling waters of the canal under a clear blue sky. Sunju looks down at the tiny, fragile wooden boat waiting for her on the water. Shaking with fear, the girl realizes her vessel feels like it will flip over instantly. Torch tells her to quit whining while she protests the quality of this shitty boat. Millie giggles, still doubting the blonde girl could even catch a simple, small rabbit. The dark, jagged mouth of the canal cave looms over the shimmering blue river. Torch and Millie watch from the bridge as Sunju paddles into the dark cavern.
Millie remains worried about her safety, but Torch dismisses her concerns as being for nothing.
Master Torch describes Seonju's ferocity, claiming she would eat a shark while it still twitches.
Floating alone, Sunju focuses intensely, knowing that observation is the most important part of hunting. She scans the dark, glowing water from her boat, searching for the elusive predator's location. The silence of the cave warns that the enemy might ambush from any unpredictable direction.
Master Torch emphasizes the need for absolute focus during a hunt, regardless of the time.
A memory of training shows Senju being startled by the master's quick and sudden strike.
The focus of her training shatters like glass as she recalls the master's harsh lessons.
A small rock flies toward the girl's head during her intense childhood drilling sessions.
Back in the boat, Sunju shrugs off her lack of experience, not expecting much today. She hopes that at least the direction of the monster's attack will be predictable. The tiny boat sits motionless in the center of the vast, glowing blue water. Seonju considers if a predictable attack pattern would make the shark much easier to detect. Watching from above, Torch casually asks the innkeeper how much the boat actually cost.
Master Torch dismisses the boat's durability, predicting its imminent destruction as Senju watches.
Master Torch and Millie watch from above as a dark shadow approaches Sunju's boat. Sunju's eyes widen in shock as she senses a sudden, violent movement beneath her. Massive white wings sprout from Seonju's back just as the giant shark destroys her boat. The terrifying rivulet shark of the Cultix Canal breaches the water with its bloody jaws open. Seonju grins nervously at the beast, questioning the sanity of having to take it down. Floating in midair, Senju realizes her master's training actually unlocked her hidden divine power. Clutching her wooden spears, Seonju realizes these trash sticks are her only offensive option left. Sonju looks at the shackles on her wrist, deciding it's time to unleash her full strength. A massive splash erupts as the shark dives back into the glowing blue depths. A blue system window appears, announcing that Sanju's strength training results have been detected. Multiple notifications confirm a significant increase in Sanju's strength stat, granting her more power. Another system alert notes that her agility has increased, making her movements feel much sharper.
Guillaume Sanju's status screen displays her level 52 stats and an impressive 879 divine power.
Sunju expresses immense relief at finally being able to move freely without her restrictive weights.
With a determined and manic grin, the blonde girl prepares to re-engage the massive predator. Sanju realizes that the simple removal of her shackles boosted her stats far more than expected. A system window details that her divine power continued to rise even while she was inactive. Content with her newfound strength, Sanju prepares her spear for another strike at the beast.
Sunju hurls a spear with incredible force, a sharp pot sound echoing through the dark cave. A sudden, powerful rush of movement follows Senju as she prepares to follow her spear.
Seonju focuses intently, resolving to finish the fight once and for all with her next move. The projectile slices through the air with a whistling shoo-oo-ook sound as it nears the target. The glowing canal water vibrates intensely as the energy from the attack dissipates. Seonju launches herself downward, leaving a spiral of golden energy in her wake as she dives. After the explosion of water, Sanju eagerly asks her spirit companion if the strike landed.
The blue spirit warns that the shark avoided the blow and is hiding beneath the surface.
Frustrated, Sunju realizes she'll have to dive into the water to catch the intelligent predator.
Seonju clenches her teeth, annoyed that she must deliberately expose a weakness to bait the shark. The bloody-jawed shark lunges upward with a roar, aiming its massive teeth at the diving girl. Reacting with lightning speed, Sunju twists her body in midair to avoid the lethal bite. A massive impact shakes the water as Seonju executes a powerful counterstrike against the beast. With a triumphant shout, Seonju celebrates landing a direct hit on the slippery monster. The shark thrashes wildly in the water, a golden spear firmly embedded in its thick hide. A brief moment of silence follows as the cave returns to a temporary, deceptive calm. The scene transitions back to the bridge where Torch and Millie observe the ongoing hunt. A colossal explosion of water erupts, soaking the onlookers as the battle intensifies below them. Drenched and startled, Seonju reacts as a sudden wave of water nearly knocks her down. The shark breaches the surface again with a terrifying roar, its bloody mouth wide and menacing. Senju is thrown backward by the force of the water, letting out a pained, "Ah!" Master Torch calls out to check on Seonju, but she tells him to worry about himself. Looking down from the bridge, Seonju grumbles about having actually been worried about her master. The spirit warns that the beast is coming back as Senju curses the shark's persistence. The massive shark leaps out of the water again, its predatory focus locked onto the girl. The shark lunges with its jaws wide, stained red with the remnants of its previous victims. Realizing she's in serious trouble, Seonju fears she might actually die against this relentless beast. Hovering high above the water, Seonju laments her lack of a shield and usable high-level skills. The blonde girl's eyes widen as the shark jumps once more, its hunger clearly visible. Seonju dives headfirst toward the monster, planning to shove a javelin straight into its throat. The scene fades as Sunju's focused eyes lock onto her target for the final desperate gamble. A powerful force echoes through the cave as Seonju maneuvers above the thrashing beast. Panting heavily, the winged girl wonders if her massive aquatic opponent ever gets exhausted. The spirit claims they are wearing it down, but the predator looks perfectly fresh. Noticing the shark's desperate straight-line movements, Seonju realizes the monster is in a massive hurry. The beast lunges upward as the spirit explains it is simply driven by extreme hunger. Senju feels the weight of the predator's desperation as it tries to make her its meal. Realizing the river is completely empty of fish, Senju understands why the beast is starving. A thoughtful silence fills the dark cave as the girl considers the ecosystem's collapse. Senju recalls that the shark's presence was once the only thing protecting this developing area. Looking at stacks of reports, Torch and Seonju realize the starving protector finally turned on humans. The cavernous river stands desolate and still, a kingdom of water with no prey left. With a grave expression, Seonju realizes the ruler of the dead river had to leave. A sudden, conflicting sensation washes over the girl, making her hesitate during the life-or-death battle. Looking at the majestic beast, Sunju feels a strange, urgent need to save it instead. The blonde girl suddenly changes direction, flying toward the bridge while the spirit questions her. Grinning with newfound purpose, Seonju declares she is going to complete her first mission properly. Back on the bridge, Master Torch asks the innkeeper why she looks so completely stunned. Millie points out the girl's wings, while Torch asks if winged humans are really that rare. Torch admits he's never seen an angel-like race despite his vast travels across many dimensions. The master reflects on how, even with his experience, Sunju's angelic appearance is a first. Beneath a stained glass image of an angel, Seonju shouts, "Master!" as she lands near him. Torch asks if she's quitting, but Sunju insists she just needs to confirm the request's details. The trainee asks if the mission's goal was specifically to protect the heart of the village. Looking surprised, Torch confirms that protecting the village's heart was indeed the exact request. Sanju's mouth sets into a firm line as she processes the master's confirmation about her task. In a massive, booming voice, the girl declares she will not kill the crazy shark. Standing with absolute conviction, the blonde girl defies the standard expectations of a monster hunt. Master Torch stares at his disciple in silence, his face unreadable after her shocking proclamation. Seonju asks why he isn't lecturing her for choosing mercy over a successful monster kill. Torch notes that killing the beast would have been a better way to measure her growth. A heavy, lingering question hangs in the dark air between the master and his student. An illustration shows that using a monster's corpse for protection is only a temporary fragile fix. Torch turns to Millie, asking if there is a local branch of the Hunters Guild nearby. Millie explains that the shark's presence made a guild branch unnecessary until the current crisis. Senju looks pensive, her suspicions about the village's true situation finally being confirmed by Millie. A system window explains that monster corpses normally belong to the hunter who killed them. An image depicts a successful hunter standing triumphantly over a pile of slain, valuable monsters. Master Torch asks the girl if she actually remembers the pledge she signed to hunt. Chibi Seonju looks at her status screen while trying to recall the details of her contract. Torch warns her approval could be revoked while the girl frantically searches her messy bag. With a triumphant shout, Sunju pulls the document out, proving she has finally found it. The paper clearly states that ownership of any corpse belongs to the party named Tinkor. Torch realizes this legal clause opens up a very interesting and profitable possibility for them. A notification mentions that the shark's classification is at least the incredibly high diamond rank. The image of a massive, shimmering diamond represents the incredible value of the monster's body. Underwater, the giant predator swims, its corpse alone worth an unimaginable fortune to any hunter. Support guilds focus on selling monster parts but do nothing to fix the actual environmental barriers. A narrow, focused eye emphasizes that once transferred, the fate of the corpse is unknown. Smirking, Seonju realizes that nobody cares what happens to the beast once the contract is fulfilled. The man named Tinkor sits under a spotlight, having used the shark as a free guard. Master Torch notes the village chief's greedy desire to profit from the shark's valuable corpse. Grinning with cold fury, Seonju curses the man named Tinkor for his unforgivable betrayal. Sanju fumes over being manipulated, while her master humorously notes she at least ate well. The blonde girl turns to Millie, asking for a source of food to save the shark. Millie hesitantly mentions the village chief's warehouse where vast stores of trade food are kept. Senju finds the plan perfect, recalling how people back home even paid to feed fish. A bright notification announces that the new schedule for today is simply feeding the shark. With a mischievous and confident smile, the blonde girl prepares for her daring warehouse raid. The scene shifts to the bright exterior of Tinker's house under a clear blue sky. A grand multi-story manor stands prominently within the village, overlooking the peaceful, sunlit streets. Inside his office, the mustached man named Tinkor quietly drinks tea while reviewing village reports. Tinkor reflects on Torch's arrival, feeling uneasy about the master's eccentric disciple and her deal. The chief hopes the village will be safe as long as the hunting contract is fulfilled. A sudden, frantic shout for the chief echoes as a door is thrown open with a bang. A panicked villager with black hair bursts into the room, shouting that there is major trouble. Startled, Tinkor asks if the shark is attacking again despite the ongoing subjugation mission nearby. The messenger clarifies that the emergency is actually happening at the village's vital trade warehouse. The scene transitions to the dark, ethereal blue glow of the massive underground river cavern. Sunju and Millie stand on the bridge, dumping large sacks of grain into the water. Seonju playfully asks Millie if she wants to help, but the terrified woman quickly declines. Senju notes the shark is surprisingly gentle, though it leaps aggressively whenever food is tossed. The massive predator breaches the surface with a splash, its glowing forehead symbol illuminating the dark. Millie expresses deep worry about the consequences of stealing food from the chief's private warehouse.
Sunju reassures her friend, though Millie is actually fearful for the blonde girl's own safety.
Tinkor and his assistant race onto the bridge, demanding an explanation for the unfolding chaos. Torch coolly acknowledges the chief's arrival while Millie hides behind a sack in pure shock. Tinkor furiously confronts the master about his disciple's blatant theft and tampering with village property. Sanju stares back with a cold, unimpressed gaze as the village chief continues his angry tirade. Torch dismissively tells Tinkor to speak with Seonju himself, leaving the mustached man fuming with rage. Sanju points out that the creature was actually protecting the village without asking for anything. The blonde girl explains that a little food is all it takes to keep the shark docile. Tinkor is outraged, calling the idea of feeding a dangerous monster complete and utter nonsense. Sunju counters that the shark was simply starving after the river's ecosystem completely collapsed. From above the bridge, Sunju explains the predator's intelligence and its ability to identify prey. Looking at the desolate, fishless river, she highlights the creature's desperate struggle for basic survival. Tinkor flinches as Seonju accuses him of exploiting the beast until he could finally kill it. The girl exposes his plan to use the creature's corpse to make a massive personal fortune. Senju declares that she caught onto his ridiculous and greedy scheme before he could finish it. With a sharp smirk and a pointed finger, she dares the chief to defend his actions. The mustached man stammers in shock, unable to find words to refute the blonde girl's accusations. A simple command to forget the argument cuts through the tension as the scene shifts. Master Torch steps forward, his presence silencing the bridge as he prepares to address the chief. The bald man fixes Tinkor with a stern look, intending to ask him one final, serious question. Torch demands to know exactly what the chief intended to do with the massive shark's body. Tinkor stands in the shadows, admitting their plan was always to sell the valuable monster corpse. With a desperate shout, Tinkor insists his plan was for the sake of the entire village. Sunju looks on skeptically, questioning if he truly meant to kill the canal's only natural protector. Tinkor explains they needed the money to establish a local branch of the Hunters Union instead. An image of the village's stained glass window represents his dream of hiring regular monster protection. The chief insists that having permanent hunters would finally make the Cultix Canal truly safe. Master Torch asks Tinker what will happen once the money from the shark's corpse is gone. Torch questions if the village can handle a high-ranked monster without its natural protector. A visual depicts a hunter struggling against a dragon while being weighed down by gold. Tinkor stammers, suggesting he would raise taxes or use his own money to hire help. Sunju interjects, accusing the chief of overthinking a simple solution to the village's problems. The blonde girl plainly states that they should just feed the shark instead of killing it. Tinkor stands stunned by the suggestion of coexisting with the dangerous predator in the river. Sunju points out that the village has already survived this way for a long time. The shark swims peacefully in the glowing blue water, framed as the village's unofficial mascot. Narrative text introduces Millie and reflects on the impressive nature of the recent hunter's mission. The scene shows the scenic village built into the cliffs overlooking the calm blue river. Chibi Seonju and Millie wave to the massive shark, which has calmed down after being fed. Senju angrily berates Chief Tinkor for exploiting the shark as a free security guard. A majestic illustration of the shark labels it as the village's new honorary guardian. Tinkor mandates that all travelers passing through the canal must bring food for the shark. The sun shines over the rugged, towering cliffs surrounding the peaceful mountain village. Master Torch and Seonju stand near a horse-drawn carriage, preparing to leave the village behind. Torch sighs, noting that their long outing has finally come to its conclusion. Before they depart, the master stops to ask his student one final, serious question. Torch asks Senju why she truly wants to become a hunter in the first place. A loud, sharp smack rings out as Master Torch hits Seonju for her insincere answer. Rubbing her head, Senju protests her master's harsh treatment while trying to explain herself. Sanju reflects on her past search for a sacred scripture without having a clear purpose. A flashback shows Sanju holding a mace, realizing she never considered her true motivations for strength. The blonde girl deeply ponders the core reason behind her desire to join the hunter's ranks. A winding dirt road leads toward a mysterious mountain range located 200 ri away. Legend tells of a fierce goblin appearing on Moonlight Hill whenever the full moon rises. The narrative describes the story of the hill as nothing more than a local superstition. A text box clarifies that the fabled Moonlight Hill does not actually exist. Instead, travelers only find the Itamara Cliff, which was once known as the world's end. A village sits nestled between a jagged gray mountain and a lush green forest. A black-haired man with piercing blue eyes asks about hunting a demon. A local man skeptically questions if the young traveler actually believes the goblin fairy tales. The two men stand in a vibrant marketplace filled with red apple trees and flowers. The black-haired hunter remains stoic as he listens to the man's dismissal of the legends. The local man asks the traveler about his specific profession and what he hunts. With an intense gaze, the dark-haired hunter identifies himself as a slayer of demons. The man laughs, finding the idea of hunting demons to be a humorous exaggeration. The local man mocks the hunter, claiming he looks far too soft-faced for such work. He continues to question why the traveler is investigating such childish ghost stories. The black-haired hunter remains resolute, stating he has something he absolutely must find. Impressed by the hunter's desperate resolve, the man agrees to help him despite his skepticism. The man begins to recount an exaggerated tale from thousands of years ago. He describes a day long ago when the sky suddenly opened up. A bright light streaks across the blue sky as white birds fly through the clouds. Master Torch explains the necessity of carriages in places where train tracks do not exist. Sunju asks why they are heading toward the magic tower instead of going home. The blonde girl looks confused as she repeats the destination back to her master. Torch explains he needs to retrieve items he left at the tower for safekeeping. Senju notes their home is already filled with books, but Torch insists they are too advanced. Looking intently at her master, the blonde girl wonders if her suspicion is correct. Master Torch confirms that whatever she is currently thinking is likely the truth. The bald man offers magic lessons, but Sunju stubbornly refuses the difficult proposition. Torch playfully threatens to resume her grueling physical training if she rejects the magic. Chibi Sunju immediately changes her tune, suddenly finding the prospect of magic very exciting. The girl asks if she possesses the actual capacity to wield magical power effectively. Inside the carriage, Torch explains that anyone can utilize magic through proper study and effort. The master demonstrates mana control by conjuring a small, flickering flame on his finger. Sunju realizes that reality doesn't follow the rigid class restrictions found in video games. She asks if her innate specialty in divine power is compatible with standard magical spells. Torch advises her to learn magic because physical strength cannot solve every potential problem. Sunju reluctantly accepts his reasoning, agreeing to undergo the magical education he proposes. The blonde girl settles into a serious silence as the carriage continues its journey. A bright streak of light impacts a distant, rocky cliffside under the night sky. A blue-hooded hunter brutally clashes with a cloaked assassin in a flurry of motion. Wah! With a powerful strike, the hunter slams the assassin into the shattered stone ground. Standing over his defeated foe, the black-haired man listens to the assassin's pained groans. The bloody assassin asks the hunter if he wants to know who ordered the hit.
With a cold and disinterested gaze, the hunter rejects the dying man's offer.
The assassin insists that the identity of the client would be a massive shock.
A silent, violent spray of blood marks the end of the confrontation on the mountain.
Wiping blood from his cheek, the hunter dismisses the assassin's attempt at manipulation.
Looking across the valley, he notes that a remaining sniper is currently too far away. A glowing, ringed moon hangs prominently in the clear and starry night sky.
Wispy clouds drift across the dark blue expanse as the night deepens further.
Tattered blue fabric flutters against the rugged, moonlit face of the high mountain cliff.
The hunter continues his solitary walk through the rocky terrain as the moon shines. He discovers a small, purple demon with pink hair sitting quietly among the boulders. The black-haired man pauses, looking down at the tiny horned creature with quiet curiosity.
The small demon watches him, thinking the bloodied hunter will likely die very soon.
The hunter offers a polite apology for his disheveled and blood-stained appearance.
Narrative text identifies the creature's red horns as a symbol of a greater demon.
The man reflects on his original goal of slaying demons to gather vital information.
He decides to leave, satisfied with simply confirming the truth of the goblin legends.
The small demon remains silent, watching the mysterious hunter depart into the dark night.
A hazy, bright transition marks the passage of time or a shift in focus.
The black-haired hunter muses on his uncharacteristic decision to show mercy to a demon. Under the ringed moon, he admits he likely looked like a fool back there.
The grand carriage finally arrives at the base of a massive, white magic tower. Rows of servants bow in unison to welcome the arrivals to the ornate mansion.
Torsh is warmly greeted by an old friend he hasn't seen for 12 years. The host, a man with gray hair and glasses, suggests they go inside to talk. Sanju is impressed by the mansion's scale and her master's connection to powerful people.
She recalls a brown-haired man with glasses while considering the person responsible for her situation.
A single thought bubble reflects the girl's deep confusion regarding the man's true identity.
A dusty, abstract texture bridge represents a brief moment of quiet and internal reflection.
Lines and dots create a transitional visual as the scene shifts to the interior.
Senju lies spread eagle on a massive, luxurious golden bed inside her assigned guest room.
The girl is deeply disappointed by the comically small portion of food served for dinner.
Sitting up abruptly, Sanju questions Torche about their true purpose for coming to this place. Torche explains that the mansion owner is concealing a legendary grimoire within the estate. Seonju questions why he didn't just ask for it, but Torche highlights its immense value. The blonde girl looks unimpressed, doubting the actual greatness of the hidden magical book.
Torch remains deep in thought while Senju grows increasingly annoyed by his lack of progress.
The master plots a way to obtain the treasure that Carterfell guards so carefully.
Senju is shocked to realize her master arrived at the mansion without any real plan. Torres tells the blonde girl to be quiet after she sarcastically praises his lack of preparation. A narrative bubble suggests that the host, Carterfell, likely has some deep-seated problems to exploit. Torch decides they will offer to fix Carterfell's troubles in exchange for the coveted spellbook. Sanju repeats the phrase with a look of pure confusion as she sits on the bed. From a high angle, Torch declares that nothing is free as he towers over his student. A speech bubble emphasizes their intent to earn the book through the hunter's traditional way. Morning arrives, casting a brilliant and warm light across the clouds and the blue sky.
The gray-haired Carterfell smiles broadly, claiming that his life is currently devoid of any problems.
He boasts of his perfect life while Torch and Sanju stare at him in disbelief. Torch clears his throat, desperately urging his old friend to reveal any hidden worries or stresses. Carterfell beams with joy, stating he is as happy as ever to see Torch again. Pouring tea, the CEO admits he finds the chance for honest, motive-free conversation quite refreshing. Sanju stares with cold blue eyes, realizing their plan to find a weakness is failing miserably. The moon shines over the ornate mansion as the night silence settles across the high roofs. Sanju walks the hall in casual clothes, asking about Torch as a blue sprite hovers. Looking down at his student again, Torch reiterates that they must earn their way forward.
Sanju reflects on her master's failure to solve anything, despite his original air of confidence.
Shifting her focus, the blonde girl heads to the refrigerator to grab a cold drink. A close-up reveals a can labeled Dovin Coal with intricate and mysterious alien script. Senju examines the strange characters, certain the language doesn't originate from anywhere on Earth. Glowing system windows announce that she has instantly gained complete mastery over the Dakant language. The girl is completely baffled by her sudden ability to read and understand the alien text. A speech bubble captures her utter disbelief at learning an entire language with zero effort. She rages internally over the decades she wasted studying English compared to this instant shortcut. Flashbacks of her past academic struggles haunt her as she stares at the can in shock.
The blue sprite clarifies that Seonju is special, though she remains stunned by the unfair advantage.
The label's translation is revealed as a poetic blessing for the drinker's light to never fade. Standing in the grand doorway, Senju finds the overwhelming power of her shortcuts to be terrifying. Leaning against the stone balcony under the night sky, a heavy sigh escapes the blonde girl. She gazes at the luxurious estate, wondering if she will ever attain such a grand lifestyle.
The girl looks up at the stars with wide, shimmering blue eyes and a solemn expression.
A voice suddenly calls out from above, asking Sanju what she is doing out so late. Caught off guard, she stammers that she was just getting some air under the night sky. The girl on the roof is identified as Bella Mirapakal, the daughter of the blacksmith Carterfell.
Bella stammers an excuse while crouching on the tiles, her blue hair braided and eyes wide.
Narrative text reflects on the dangerous allure of the hunter's profession for the youth of Celeplian. Carterfell gazes out his window at the village, musing on the vast amount of time past.
History describes Carterfell's humble beginnings as a simple errand boy for the world's elite hunters.
Flashbacks depict him carrying heavy gear through treacherous terrains while following the brave hunting parties. He forged his reputation by repairing weapons in the field, gaining far more experience than city blacksmiths. Immersed in their world, the young Carterfell eventually began to identify himself as a true hunter.
A violent spray of blood marks the sudden and terrifying end of the blacksmith's peaceful delusion.
The young man stands paralyzed as a titanic, horned demon emerges from the dark shadows. Screams of agony erupt as the hunters are brutally slaughtered in a sudden burst of violence. Wah! Young Carterfell stands amidst the carnage, the sole survivor of a brutal demon attack. The blue-haired youth faces the terrifying realization that he is currently utterly powerless. Blood-drenched gear highlights the tragic futility of even the finest magical weapons and armor. On a shattered battlefield, the specialized skills of a simple blacksmith offer no protection. Surrounded by his fallen companions, the young man finally witnesses the end of his delusions. In the present, the gray-haired Carterfell sighs over his long-abandoned dreams of being a hunter. Reflecting on his past, the blacksmith finds himself haunted by memories of the old days. Gazing at the stars, he acknowledges the world's need for hunters while feeling lingering bitterness. Carterfell vows to protect his family from the dangerous path he once foolishly desired. High on the roof, Bella Mirapakal defiantly shouts her hidden desire to become a hunter. Sanju reacts with genuine confusion at the blue-haired girl's sudden and loud emotional outburst. The blonde girl questions what becoming a hunter has to do with late-night roof sneaking. Bella explains her family's strict opposition, finding common ground with Sanju's own complicated journey. Despite her passion, Bella admits the odds of the guild accepting her are incredibly slim. Sanju falls into a quiet silence, listening intently to the blue-haired girl's earnest worries. Torsh's deep voice interrupts, questioning the blonde girl's true motivations for seeking such power. The blonde girl stares back with a serious and determined gaze under the night sky. Sanju prepares to speak, her expression softening as she considers her future answer carefully. Bella watches Xianju, her blue eyes reflecting curiosity about the mysterious visitor's own path. The blue-haired girl describes her intense yearning for the hunt as a form of fate. Narrative text warns that all hunters are born under the shadow of a wandering doom. Bella smiles with grim determination, unable to ignore her calling despite the inherent dangers. Finding the conversation too formal, Sanju insists that the girls simply use her name. Bella confesses she is currently just a magician lacking an official hunter's license.
The blue-haired girl proudly claims she is considered a very promising young magician.
Sanju realizes Bella might possess information regarding the legendary grimoire Torch is seeking. Sensing a shift in the blonde girl's mood, Bella asks if she thought of something. With a bright smile, the blue-haired girl prepares to offer a mutually beneficial arrangement. Under a meteor-streaked sky, Bella officially proposes making a deal with the intrigued Sanju. Morning light bathes the ornate spires of the mansion as a new day begins. Carterfell bids a warm farewell to Torch and Xianju as they prepare to depart. Torch whispers a query about Bella's motives, but Xianju dismisses it as simple desire. The bald man narrows his eyes, clearly finding Xianju's vague explanation to be rather suspicious. A moment of quiet reflection as the travelers prepare to leave the grand estate behind. Bella's resolve remains unshaken, her smile hiding the weight of the secret choice she made. Torch avoids further explanation, leaving Sanju annoyed by his lazy approach to storytelling. Torch repeats his hushed inquiry while Senju maintains her casual and disinterested facade. The blonde girl sighs, lamenting the anticlimactic nature of her master's cryptic behavior. Senju suffers through internal embarrassment while the small sprite mocks her clingy regrets. Suddenly, Bella rushes out from the mansion to stop the group before they depart. Carterfell looks back in surprise as his daughter urgently calls out to the departing travelers. Bella claims she simply wanted to give Torch a proper and respectful farewell too.
The blue-haired girl reaches out to shake Sanju's hand in a final gesture of friendship.
Bella shakes the blonde girl's hand with unexpected intensity, surprising the weary traveler.
While Bella bids Torch well, Seonju continues to brood over her own ridiculous actions. With a cheerful expression, Bella wishes the Master Hunter well on his continued journey.
Sanju's eyes widen as she feels something being discreetly slipped into her bag. Secrecy prevails as Bella expertly hides a green book inside the blonde girl's luggage. Torch remains oblivious, flattered by the girl's attention as he prepares to set off. Carterfell accepts the situation with a smile, unaware of the secret deal made on his roof. Torch and Sanju depart the massive white mansion as their long journey resumes. Looking back, the blonde-haired Seonju reflects on their brief stay at the Grand Estate. Bella waves her arms frantically from the balcony to bid her new friends farewell. In the woods, Torch questions if the blue-haired girl possesses the heart of a hunter. Sanju looks back with concern, worrying about the mortal dangers Bella might eventually face.
The bald master coldly reminds his student that death is a constant companion for hunters.
Reaching their carriage, Torch questions why Seonju feels such deep empathy for a stranger. The blonde girl pouts as Torch mocks her inability to protect her own life. Torch sternly commands his student to stop sneaking away and focus on her training. Against the bright blue sky, Sanju's internal thoughts insist she is already training hard. The scene shifts to a grand clock tower housing the unique guild management headquarters.
Inside, a brown-haired man in a tracksuit expects another pointless report from the field.
Sipping tea, the silver-haired paladin mentions finding something deeply unsettling during his recent mission.
The man in glasses asks for details about what Paladin found so disturbing.
Paladin explains that the religious practices of the people he encountered were incredibly bizarre. A quick talk sounds as Paladin sets his teacup back onto the fusser. The Joker rank hunter Paladin reveals with a smile that the villagers actually worship demons.
Paladin confirms the dark nature of the cult-like worship with a calm, smiling expression.
A flashback shows Paladin discovering a hidden village tucked away within the dense forest. He observed the horned Hirondo race living a simple life in their secluded woodland home. Back in the office, the two men discuss the officially recognized status of the Hirondos. Paladin explains that these specific forest dwellers believe they are truly demonic beings.
The silver-haired man clarifies that their horns are merely unusual skull growths, not demon traits.
Leaning back, the man in the tracksuit muses on the danger of such ignorance. He notes that their beliefs are harmless as long as they don't cause any trouble.
A notification bubble mentions forming a separate raid team to deal with the actual demon.
Paladin cheers for his upcoming vacation, while his colleague remains skeptical and deep in thought. The brown-haired man wonders why the request was sent to them instead of local hunters.
A heavy silence falls as a sudden realization halts the man in the tracksuit.
Paladin is confused by this sudden and intense shift in his companion's serious demeanor.
The man explains that they are facing more than just one group of demon worshippers.
He reveals a drawing of a horned skull symbol discovered among the mountain dwarfs. Identifying the mark as the sigil of Satan, the man confirms a widespread threat. Paladin is shocked to learn that an entire city has been compromised by this cult. The tracksuit man smiles, ready to assign a new and far more dangerous mission. He points to a location on the map, ordering Paladin to investigate Clareda Mountain. Paladin reacts with shock and confusion at the mention of the remote mountain peak.
The silver-haired hunter protests his canceled vacation while his boss demands he sets off immediately.
Paladin stammers a desperate excuse about not knowing the way to the distant mountain.
Frustrated, the tracksuit man questions how Paladin ever reached the prestigious Joker rank.
Ignoring the whining, the man marks the map with a quill to finalize the mission. Sanju appears with divine wings, symbolizing the high expectations of her current magical training. Paladin regains his composure, offering a calm and reassuring gaze to his stressed colleague.
The tracksuit man smiles confidently, trusting the plan he has set in motion.
At a secluded hut, Torch watches over Sanju as she begins a new training session. The blonde girl concentrates intensely, attempting to manifest a complex and glowing blue magic circle. A sudden pyong erupts as the magic circle fails and explodes into a bright light. As smoke clears, Torch bluntly suggests that Seonju should give up on magic altogether. Senju glares at her master with fiery indignation following the embarrassing failure of her spell. Torch sighs, noting her perfect theoretical knowledge fails to translate into successful practice. Narrative text explains that anyone with energy control should master basic spells. Even the untalented should succeed after months of studying the ancient book. Seonju's spell fails miserably, leaving the blonde girl feeling completely devoid of talent. Glancing at the glowing sprite, the discouraged student questions her ability to learn. Torch explains that divine power and mana are naturally incompatible forces. The small sprite admits it was simply curious if the impossible was possible. Sanju reacts with visible fury at the sprite's reckless experimentation with her training.
The blonde girl rages against the sprite for ignoring established historical facts.
A weary sigh escapes Senju as she officially gives up for the day.
Darkness and rain descend upon the sharp gray peaks of the mountain range. Sanju sits alone in the downpour, appearing tiny amidst the massive rainy cliffs.
The blonde girl pouts, lamenting her lack of progress after months of effort. Despite mastering chores and cooking, Seonju feels her magical training is utterly stagnant. Rain begins the moment she steps outside, further dampening the girl's sour mood. Letting out a tired yawn, Seonju decides a nap is her best option. A silver-haired young man in a green cloak suddenly appears in the woods. Sanju defensively points a stick at the intruder, who reacts with startled surprise. Raising his hands, the silver-haired man insists he is not a bad person. The visitor cheerily reveals he is searching for the master hunter, Torse. Confusion marks the blonde girl's face at the mention of her master's name. Sunlight breaks through the clouds, clearing the rain to reveal a vibrant rainbow. Paladin questions their connection, and Sanju confirms Torch is indeed her master. The silver-haired hunter introduces himself as Paladin with an overly friendly smile. Sanju looks disgusted as the stranger attempts to assume a big brother role. A bead of sweat falls as Paladin nervously reveals he is 25 years old. Sanju snaps that she is 26 and far more worldly than he is. Startled by the age difference, Paladin quickly shifts to calling her big sister. The blonde girl stands with renewed confidence as the sun shines brightly. A voice calls out from a distance over the scenic, rocky landscape. Sanju demands to know why the silver-haired man is hesitating to address her. Sitting together, Paladin asks for confirmation regarding her status as Torch's disciple. The young hunter stares in genuine awe at the blonde girl's prestigious position. Sanju explains her training is simply the result of a helpful personal recommendation.
Paladin panics and waves his hands, clearly overwhelmed by the blonde girl's presence.
Looking serious, Sanju asks the flustered man what is wrong with him now. Blushing, Paladin shyly mentions that Senju's clothing is quite wet from the rain. A detailed look shows the girl's damp clothes clinging tightly to her frame.
Senju remains completely indifferent while Paladin reacts with extreme embarrassment and shock.
The silver-haired man offers his green cloak to Sanju in a polite gesture. Sanju recognizes the cloak as a rare 7th Gaily poncho, surprising the man. Paladin is impressed that she identified the item using only her book knowledge. Noticing a nomium dagger on his belt, Seonju begins to reevaluate the stranger.
She asks about the legendary test one must pass to earn such a weapon.
Paladin proudly confirms his origins while remembering someone named Chili recognizing his blade. Finding the timing perfect, a smiling Sanju asks to hear more about the exam. The nomium exam is described as a trial to identify a truly elite hunter. Walking through the forest, Sanju asks if the exam involves fighting completely barehanded. Paladin continues his story as the pair strolls through the sunlit woodland. Bright blue skies and fluffy white clouds signify a peaceful change in atmosphere. Back at the hut, the bald Torch sits quietly as the day continues. Paladin's return interrupts Torch's quiet smoke as a cheery greeting echoes through the trees.
Torch grumbles suspiciously as Sanju explains the silver-haired stranger has come specifically for him.
Bowing deeply, Paladin greets the legendary Master Torch with an enthusiastic and polite smile. Paladin introduces himself as a Joker rank hunter currently employed by the barbecue and chili management. Sonju is visibly outraged that someone younger holds a higher rank, while Torche remains unimpressed. A tense atmosphere descends, leaving Paladin bewildered by the sudden shift in his companion's moods. Feeling the heavy weight of their stares, the silver-haired hunter worries if he has misspoken. The conversation turns serious as the presence of a demon-worshipping cult is finally addressed. Inside the hut, the group discusses the bizarre and unprecedented nature of these mountain-dwelling people. Paladin asks for help identifying the rock-carving dwarves who were seen worshipping the demonic entities. Rubbing his chin, Torch admits he has never encountered demon worshippers among the local dwarves. Torch questions his disciple about her own frequent encounters with the dwarves during her mountain travels. Senju sarcastically points out that identifying a lunatic cultist is not as simple as making eye contact. Letting out a dismissive humph, Torch considers the girl's blunt and defensive response to his query. Torch notes that Seonju's local expertise makes her the best candidate to locate the carving clan. Sanju erupts with a firm refusal when her master commands her to lead the search party. The bald master offers a terrifyingly calm glare, silently threatening to go himself if she refuses. Quickly changing her tune, a sycophantic Seonju massages Torch's shoulders and agrees to lead them. Senju looks on with total disgust as Paladin blushes, clearly overjoyed to be traveling together. Time passes as fluffy white clouds drift across the vast, tranquil blue of the afternoon sky. Trekking through the dense woods, Senju laments her current suffering, while Paladin remains blissfully cheerful.
Surrounded by imaginary sparkles, Paladin tries to convince the grumpy girl of the route's scenic beauty.
Sunju scoffs at his optimism, insisting there is absolutely nothing worth seeing in this desolate wilderness. A series of dull puck sounds follow as Seonju pokes the ground while Paladin searches. A sudden pock erupts as Sunju taps a suspicious spot on the forest floor, startling Paladin. Bosok! A bearded dwarf's head suddenly pops out from the earth with a grumpy expression. Delighted to find someone, Seonju greets the subterranean dweller while Paladin watches with stunned surprise.
The dwarf recognizes Sanju, calling her an angel with a terrible attitude as he looks up.
Seonju kicks the air in a rage while the dwarf admits he tolerates her beer tasting skills.
Paladin is amazed by her connection to the dwarfs as they discuss shared tastes in food. Reflecting on his past, Paladin recalls urban dwarves being much more hostile toward other humanoid races.
Pyong, the dwarf leaves, allowing Sanju to stay while calling Paladin's face particularly unpleasant.
Sanju bluntly translates the dwarf's insult, leaving the silver-haired hunter to question her lack of tact. Paladin realizes that Seonju's presence has granted him unexpected official permission to enter the Dwarven lands. Watching her walk ahead, the silver-haired hunter hopes the mission will be resolved much sooner now. The setting sun paints the sky in vibrant shades of orange as Paladin considers his future. Paladin trails behind his companions, wondering what he should do with all his potential free time. Beneath the towering mountain peaks, Paladin decides that simply being in this place is rewarding enough. A pensive silence falls over the silver-haired man as he continues to ponder his plans for later. Paladin shakes off his worries with a soft smile, doubting he can actually finish his task quickly. A montage reveals their struggle to find the right tribe, meeting mushroom carvers and time shavers.
Kaak! A green serpent lunges at Seonju just as she mentions running into trouble like this.
A massive quang echoes as Paladin incinerates the attacking snake with a sudden blast of magic. Senju stands in stunned awe of the incredible power and speed Paladin displayed during the attack. Looking at the charred remains, Seonju finds magic convenient, but Paladin warns of its mental complexity. Paladin smiles warmly, admitting that sometimes a simple fist is far more efficient than casting spells. Senju remains skeptical, noting that his magical casting appeared incredibly fast despite his modest claims. The glowing sprite confirms that Paladin is a rare genius with high-tier magic and refined skills. Senju pauses to process the sprite's assessment, realizing her new companion is far stronger than he looks. The sprite reiterates that Paladin is a true genius, leaving the blonde girl in quiet contemplation. Furious that some struggle for months for a single spell, Seonju clenches her fist.
A steady rhythmic tap echoes as Sunju marches purposefully toward the silver-haired hunter.
A loud crack sounds as Seonju delivers a staggering blow to Paladin's unsuspecting back.
Paladin yelps in pain, demanding an explanation while Seonju coldly blames his bad luck. Rubbing his stinging back, Paladin sighs at his misfortune while the blonde girl watches. Senju's sharp eyes narrow as she spots a faint mark on Paladin's exposed forearm. Curious, Senju asks the young hunter when he received that specific scar on his arm. Paladin glances at the mark, seemingly unbothered by her sudden inquiry into his past. A heavy silence falls as Paladin turns away, his expression darkening with unspoken memories. Observing his somber mood, Sunju realizes the old scar carries far more weight than expected. Paladin quickly regains his cheerful facade, urging his companion to continue their journey forward. Sunju remains stationary, watching him walk away with an expression of deep, growing suspicion. Paladin clenches his gloved hand while a somber blue energy seems to swirl around him. Shading her eyes, Seonju scans the rocky cavern floor for any sign of other inhabitants. A group of dwarves greets the blonde girl warmly, welcoming their favorite beer-loving companion back. One dwarf points rudely, questioning the identity of the ugly human standing beside the burl.
Sunju laughs boisterously at the insult, telling the dwarf not to worry about the stranger.
Paladin is surprised by how naturally the grumpy blonde girl interacts with the reclusive dwarves. He reflects on the fact that truly bonding with dwarves usually requires years of patience. Despite the blonde girl's short stay, the dwarves seem genuinely thrilled to see her again. A sudden shock hits Paladin as he realizes he might be growing fond of her. Paladin finds it unsettling that the local dwarves refer to the foul-tempered Seonju as an Endel. Sunju catches Paladin staring intensely at her, questioning his strange and sudden loss of focus. Paladin prompts the girl to ask about their mission as they stand among the doors. The silver-haired man politely asks if they have found the elusive stone-carving dwarven tribe. The lead dwarf clarifies that they are lake shapers, completely separate from the stone-carving clan. The dwarfs provide directions, pointing them toward a waterfall located behind the Ferric Peaks.
Sunju rejoices at finding a lead, though she wonders why the carving tribe is reclusive. The dwarf confirms that even the general dwarven population knows very little about that tribe.
A chart shows how the stone carving leaders always skip the grand annual dwarf conference.
Sunju wonders if they simply enjoy their isolation, her hands behind her head in thought. The dwarf looks grim, stating that the reclusive tribe situation is much more complicated. Paladin ponders if their demon worship is the true cause of their extreme social isolation. The groups part ways with a cheerful promise to share a drink in the future. Sanju asks if Paladin was being genuinely kind or just performing a polite social gesture. They discover a breathtaking underground chamber featuring 2 massive glowing blue waterfalls and paths. Sanju gasps in wonder as she spots a strange luminous crystal high above their heads. Paladin questions if the glowing purple objects are actually the common glowstones they expected.
A beautiful violet gem glows intensely, floating within a metallic ring against the blue cavern.
Paladin notes the circuit-like conduits, suggesting the lights are powered by an external mana source. Sanju scoffs, unimpressed as she equates the ancient engineering to a simple, fancy light bulb. Paladin stops abruptly, his face clouded with a serious and troubled expression in the shadows. He summons a brilliant orb of golden light, illuminating the dark interior of the cave. Squinting against the glare, Seonju asks why he suddenly created such a blindingly bright light. Paladin claims the extra light is necessary to avoid tripping in the dim, treacherous cavern. Sunju retorts that it didn't seem dark to her, clearly confused by his sudden action. A startling thought occurs to Seonju as she considers the difference in their visual perceptions. Sunju turns back, asking why Paladin is suddenly walking at such a suspiciously slow pace. Paladin offers a nervous smile, using the slippery floor as an excuse for his hesitation. A bolt of realization hits Sunju as she stares at Paladin, suspecting a deep secret. Observing Paladin's visible distress, Seonju begins to question the true reason for his intense fear. Senju wonders if the silver-haired hunter is actually terrified of the dark at his age. Trembling with uncontrollable anxiety, Paladin's fragile state leaves Seonju labeling him a truly strange fellow. The glowing sprite suggests Paladin suffers from trauma while Senju watches him with bewildered shock. A heavy silence stretches between the companions as Paladin continues to struggle with his internal dread. Watching the hunter's paralyzing fear, Seonju realizes there is nothing she can do to help him. Senju mockingly questions his frailty and offers a piggyback ride, leaving the silver-haired man flustered. Paladin awkwardly declines her help, insisting the blonde girl would simply collapse under his weight. Relieved by his refusal, Senju privately admits that carrying him would have been incredibly awkward.
The sprite reflects on the human need for companionship and the comfort of not being alone.
Letting out a tired sigh, Paladin attempts to compose himself despite the overwhelming atmosphere.
Gazing at the cave walls, Paladin admits he vastly underestimated the difficulty of this location. A sudden shift in the scene reveals the grand architecture of Meltedom Academy, the sacred home of mages. In a flashback, a younger Paladin is hailed as a genius star student and a high-ranking archmage. Despite his many prestigious titles, Paladin recalls a specific woman who truly saw his inner self.
The brown-haired woman warns a young paladin that his extraordinary talent will lead to a life of isolation.
She observes his unwavering confidence while the silver-haired boy listens to her prophetic words in silence. The memory shifts to a darker lesson about the perpetual anxiety and hunger required of a true mage.
Horror fills the faces of onlookers as they witness the young hunter standing over a bloody, fallen enemy.
Splattered with blood, the young paladin looks on with a hollow expression after his first lethal encounter. A sickening sound follows as a knife is driven deep into the flesh of a fallen foe. Trembling with the weight of his actions, the boy cries out in shock at having taken a life. A dark-haired woman with a fanged smile looms in the shadows of Paladin's most haunting memories. Back in the present, the duo arrives at a massive, imposing wooden gate sealed within the cavern walls. Paladin notes the gloomy vibe of the demon worshippers' lair, while Seonju mocks his own dark mood. The silver-haired hunter expresses surprise at seeing a dwarven village completely sealed off by such a door. Sunju delivers a sharp knock on the wood, loudly questioning if anyone is residing within the chamber.
When Paladin voices his suspicions about the cult, Seonju bluntly challenges him to provide a better plan.
Only a hollow silence answers their call as they stand before the unresponsive, massive wooden barrier. A series of loud thuds echo as Seonju loses her patience and begins pounding on the door. Sunju lets out a frustrated shout as the giant doors finally creak open, revealing a blinding light.
A burly, bearded dwarf appears in the doorway, demanding to know what business the strangers have there.
Sunju quickly changes her aggressive tone while Paladin watches her attempt to smooth over the rude entrance. Looking them over, the dwarf admits that visitors are a rare sight in their secluded underground village. Paladin politely introduces himself and explains his mission to investigate the unusual activity on Claretta Mountain. The silver-haired man shamelessly flatters the dwarf, complimenting his powerful physique and apparent skill with a hammer. Pridefully puffing his chest, the dwarf scoffs that a human couldn't possibly comprehend the intricacies of his craft. Seonju watches with absolute disgust as a sycophantic Paladin begs to visit the dwarf's personal forge. Looking at his cheerful face, Seonju wonders how he transitioned from trembling fear to shameless flattery so quickly. The dwarf casually invites them inside, stating they have no specific laws forbidding outsiders from entering.
Paladin watches the dwarf walk away, noting they arrived just as he was preparing to leave the village.
The silver-haired hunter finds the lack of security unexpected given the reclusive and conservative nature of dwarves.
Paladin remains wary, finding it strange that a supposed demon-worshipping cult would be so openly welcoming.
Dismissing the dwarf as a mere oddity, the companions finally step through the gates and enter the village.
The duo is greeted by the sight of a sprawling city illuminated by chains of glowing purple lanterns. A dark wooden door stands marked by a disturbing illustration of a horned demonic skull.
A heavy silence falls as they stare at the satanic emblem displayed prominently on the building's facade.
Narrowing his eyes, Paladin remarks that decorative satanic symbols are a very concerning sign for their investigation. Seeing the evidence of the cult's presence, Seonju insists they begin their search for the tribe immediately.
Despite the ominous decor, the village thrives with mundane chatter about high prices and forging feats.
Paladin notes the curious, non-aggressive gazes of the villagers watching them pass by. Sunju admits the atmosphere is far less gloomy than she expected for demon worshippers. She vividly imagines the dark, hooded cultist rituals she thought they would find.
Senju suggests the satanic symbols might just be for aesthetic, but Paladin disagrees.
Excitedly, Seonju realizes she has a chance to settle her curiosity immediately.
A quick tap sounds as Sanju approaches a broad-shouldered dwarf to ask a question.
The dwarf turns, recognizing them as humans, but noting an unusual aura about them. Sunju confirms her humanity while preparing to ask about the village's strange decorations. She points directly at a horned skull symbol displayed prominently on the stone wall.
The dwarf casually confirms that the image represents the official symbol of Satan.
Paladin is struck by a wave of disbelief at the man's nonchalant response. A dark memory of a smiling, predatory demon flashes through Paladin's troubled mind. He is deeply disturbed that such a malevolent force is treated as a household blessing. Paladin urgently demands to know if they truly grasp the terrifying reality behind that symbol.